now officially live on YouTube and Twitch. So need to go live here. Yeah, okay, we are now live. We're now live. Welcome to the live streaming, Dad.
Hello, Alan.
I'm doing great.
I'm saying hello.
Yeah, well, it's probably not picking up your microphone there now, so just double check that. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's happening, people? Connor, what's happening, man? Connor said hello.
Oh, hello, Connor.
Got Steger. Hello, man. How are you? So we got people coming in. So tonight, guys, we're doing a bit of a different stream. If you follow my Instagram or my Facebook, you might have noticed that I put up that my dad, who's also a head judge of Ireland, ex-Drift Masters head judge, got a new follower or has liked the stream. Thanks for the like, Ian. You might have seen that I put up saying we're going to have a special guest, or my dad. He's not really that special. He's that special. I don't think you're that special.
Thanks, Darren.
Your girlfriend.
God's sake, we're all coming out of the woodworking.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is. Thanks for the follow, Paddy. Or thanks for liking. So that's where we're at today. So feel free to ask some questions. While we're answering questions, I'm going to try and drive at the same time. I can't multitask.
We're talking about Corona, Aaron.
The Corolla virus.
Coronavirus.
There's one not
Darren
too far.
McNamara
Yeah,
is the guy
yeah. He'd have a very bad version of that now, wouldn't he?
Usually involves rust.
Rust, yeah. Well, we know that ourselves, don't we? So, yeah, feel free to ask any questions. We're probably going to start it off today because I kind of want to ask some things or like bring stuff up.
Aaron wants me.
I think he wants me to give you a kiss. Yeah, that's not happening.
Not happening.
No, it's not happening at all. So, I think we should start off by asking, what kind of got you into drifting and why you started. Oh no, not drifting, but like judging, I suppose.
Andy, go away now, right?
And he's asking about protecting his reciting hairline. Well, this is actually the first time people have seen you without your beard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've had a beard for the last 2 seasons. Now it's gone all of a sudden. So.
Apparently, I look 20 years.
Oh, do you? That's good. That's good. But yeah, no. First of all, I kind of want to ask about your how you got into judging drift events and stuff. Because when you started, there wasn't actually any judges around, wasn't there? Was there?
Well, this is it. Like, people often say to me, well, obviously, drifting before you became a judge. And I go, actually, no, nobody was drifting before I became. There was very few, Mike Dean and a few others.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know the story. You were there.
I was.
You were like 8 years old. But anyway, we Graham was holding an event in McNamara. Went down to have a look. Judging, so I said, look, at least been up in the tower, we'd have a better view of the track. So apparently my mic is cut.
Yeah. Just make sure you just talk into it a bit closer. You might nearly shove it down your face.
How's that?
Okay,
but no, it's your mic is cut. But anyway, yeah. So we said we'd give it a try. That's basically where it started, and I mean that's a good few years ago now. But
I mean, since then, right? You've had to kind of develop something from scratch, right? Because when you started back then, there wasn't that much of a criteria, and we're getting abuse here from family and everything. That these are not the questions that we've been asking, we've been looking for, right? We're talking about drifting. We don't want to know who's the favorite. Clearly, I am, but anyway. But like you've had to start off from scratch, right? Coming up with something yourself. Obviously, back then, D1GP was really the only series you could look at because even then, Formula D wasn't even a thing, right? Like Formula D, I don't actually think had started by then. So, I mean, look, that's a different discussion, right?
Yeah,
We'll talk about Formula D and all that.
Okay, I mean, what the only reference you had really was the option videos. That's where we started watching option videos. Get what they were up to. I think there's two types of people who go into judging: drift fans, people who are actually drift fans, and people who are coming from a motorsport background. And I came from motorsport, so my idea of what drifting was would be different to somebody who would have been a complete drift fan. So from my point of view, I was trying to make it less subjective, we'll say, and you know, if you're starting writing rules for something, you kind of have to stand over the rules that you're writing. In other words, if I say this guy gets 30 points, this fella gets 40, I have to be able to, it has to be measurable. I have to be able to measure the difference between those two and be able to explain why there's a difference. So I found in the early years the best way to do this was line based. So from very early years in Ireland, we were very, very much line based, and as the years progressed, we got more and more technical with the line, and I found it a better way to divide the drivers, and I was able to stand over how I scored. And I think it stood to us because drifting in Ireland became more about maybe precision rather than, I say, style based. Because you know, if it's grassroots style, yeah, it's great. Like, you know, you
Yeah.
can go out, you can lob the car in and at big angle or try backwards entries and all that. So that's great. Like, but if you want to look at a competition, you kind of have to make it. It has to be more black and white. It has to be easier to measure, because as a judge, you have to stand over your scoring.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's why maybe we lean more towards precision in competition than we do, we'll say, at a track day where it's more stylish. So that's kind of where we developed the rules from the early years, and we walked it from there.
We have a question here from Stigar on YouTube, I assume. Question for Kieran: have you ever given Alan a lower score than he deserved because you were scared you would think you were biased?
Possibly, but I can't answer that with him sitting right beside me here.
I'll get sore.
It's a difficult one, you know. How do I explain this? Right? Okay, when you score anybody, okay, any driver, and let's be realistic here now. Every driver that comes in front of you, you watch their run, you're picking out their faults, and you're marking their scores, the mistakes that they're making. Okay, and when Alan comes in front of me and I picking out the scores, I actually end up kind of, I'm looking for the faults, and when I find the faults, I focus on the faults more than maybe I would with somebody else, if that makes any sense. Because
Okay.
I want to make sure that nobody can turn around and say, well, he dropped the wheel there. Why wasn't he marked down for it? Well, I would really have seen the wheel drop, and I would have marked him down. And maybe sometimes I'd be kind of going, well, maybe erring on the side of caution would be to actually maybe mark him slightly more. But it's a difficult one. Generally, though, there's three of us there, and the other two judges, you know, their scores would come out before mine. Generally, when it's Alan, I'll wait to the other judges, make sure that my score is where it should be. And
Yeah.
I think if you ever compare the scores after the scorecards, I'm nearly always the lowest of the three.
Right. Okay.
That's we spoke about
Would
this years ago.
you, like, obviously, you know, me being your son and stuff, this is not something we like to talk about publicly, right? Like, if we hear the commentators talking about this on the live stream, it kind of it kind of sometimes portrays the wrong message to people about our situation. Would you kind of agree with that? Because there's been times of when we've had commentators in the past, I mean, who would say something maybe from as a joking comment, let's say, and we all know it's all banter and stuff like that. But sometimes it might portray the wrong message to people, like,
Well, yeah, it
you know,
does. It can open the floodgates, because
yeah,
you do know, we know, especially on Facebook. If you ever look at the comments on Facebook, you've got people who, it doesn't matter how good or how bad the judging is, they will pick fault in everything. And it's like anything. If you've got two guys out there battling each other, you'll have one guy's fans will find every reason why their guy should have won, and the other people's fans, the other driver's fans, will find the reasons why their guy should have won. They'll ignore the mistakes that their fella made, but only focus on the mistakes the other guy made. So you'll always have people there, and if you give them ammo, you know, like the two of us been related, sometimes those guys have got an excuse to be able to just throw shit at you.
Yeah, yeah.
But the only thing I will say, going back to the early years of drifting in Ireland, and because my background was motorsport as opposed to being more, I didn't come into it as a driver or a drifter. I came into it from a motorsport perspective. It's kind of, I think it's worked well now for us because we went so technical with the rules, and in the briefings, we'd explain about the line and the transitions. Don't want big angle transitions. I want the snap transition. You know what I mean? We go through a lot of information, but because of that, though, I suppose when it actually comes to qualifying, it's very, very hard for someone to give somebody a higher score than they should get because it's blatantly obvious. And I think that's part of the reason why maybe you don't get a lot of stick for the high scores you get. Everybody can see that you're nailing the line and you're hitting all those clipping points.
Well, it's clearly because I'm paying you the most amount of money to be able to get those scores,
Yeah.
isn't it? Clearly, the envelopes, yeah,
And in case anybody wonder, I only accept Jaffa cakes.
Jaffa cakes, the type of sweet
and
here,
Happy McVitie's. Not little.
That's why there's a rumor mill that James Dean's going to be sponsored by a Jaffa Cake company this year. So, if James is going to win every single event that my dad judges that, that's the reason why.
Oh, I see Wada is online.
Oh, what is a farmer judge? Farmer? No, I'm missing.
He's
He's locked up probably somewhere.
the Yemenis Dubai onion.
So we got some people. Obviously, Jojo has just said hello. Female drifter in the UK. You've judged Jojo before on the pro-am
Yeah.
and stuff.
She drives like a man.
She drives like.
And that's a compliment, by the way, Jojo.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I should drift in the wet for this live. You should drive in the wet. I could drive in the wet. I could go outside right now. Hyperfox with a tree. Yes, a tree says hello. NZ does driftings. VDC drifter Pantos is his name. He's drives James Dean's RX-7. I never let that go, Pantos. Would you say you're harsher on Alan just because you know what he's capable of?
And I haven't eaten the Easter egg yet.
I-
I'm storing it.
But that Easter egg is right here actually. So anyway.
Yeah, Wada thinks I look like shit because I don't have my beard anymore.
But
Well,
okay.
to be fair, Wada, you're the bigger looking terrorist than the two of us, though, to be fair.
Oh, okay. We better not get too political here, should we? Matt Stevenson says hello. How are you, Matt? I hope everything's all good with BDC. Jojo says I love you drive like a man. It's my life goal achieved. That's great. So I mean, obviously you've judged in many series around the world. In recent years, many less than more, right? Because I suppose, let's say the likes of BDC situation. Can Alan grow a beard instead? I fucking have one, man. What do you want about that?
But he's been growing it since he's about 17.
17. Do you not remember when I was
like one
12?
hair a year, I think.
But would you say so? Like in previous years, you did Ireland, you did BDC, you did Drift Masters. So that was a very busy year for you. And you also did Oman. In recent years, that's obviously only became Ireland and Oman, right, or the Middle East.
And Cyprus.
And Cyprus. That was a new thing for you last year. You're in a situation where like judging for you is kind of like it's what you believe in versus what another series believes in or another judge believes in. And that I mean, let's 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 be honest, that would be the American system, right? Criteria. What's your kind of opinion on their criteria, and what would you like and dislike about it compared to what you do? And if you wouldn't mind going into detail what your system is and what the difference is between the criteria.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm at loggerheads with other series because of this. Yeah, I have a different perspective. Look, like I said earlier on, I come from more a motorsport background, so I like everything to be less subjective. So when it comes to judging, in my opinion, there's two different ways of doing it. There's adding the scores, and there's averaging scores. Now, if you ever look at any judged sport in the world, whether it's figure skating or diving or whatever, judges there may be 5, 7, 9 judges, but their scores are all averaged. Okay, so it's not one person's opinion on what's happening; it's several people's opinion. And I think for me, that's the way everything should be judged, including drifting. Because if you have three guys sitting in a tower looking at a guy's run, and we're talking qualifying here now more so than battles, you're watching a guy's run, right? My opinion, I might be more line based than maybe one of the other judges. The other judge might be slightly more style based. In other words, he likes other stuff. And that's fine because our three scores are averaged. So we get a better balance the score for the person doing the run.
Yeah.
But then let's flip it over and look at the way other series do it, where they split up the judges. So for simplicity, we'll divide it into three. So we'll say 33% for line, 33% for style, and 3% for angle. Just to make it simple, but we all know different series divide things up differently. So in that scenario, right, just for a second, imagine if you have really, really good drivers. You have 10 or 15 or 20 really good drivers on an easy enough course.
Yeah.
So let's just say each one of those drivers goes out there and they nail the line. So the line judge goes, okay, I'm going to give him my 33 points. That was absolutely amazing, the line. And all the judges give the judge gives all those drivers 33 points because they're all spot on the line. The angle judge, he says, oh, the angle was amazing the whole way through. So he gives them all his full points, 33. Now you have two judges who've just given their scores, and they may as well have stayed at home because they now have no say in who qualifies highest. It all comes down to the third judge who's doing style. I know it could be the style judge gives them all the full score and the line judge decides, but one person shouldn't have the power to decide who qualifies first, second, third, fourth. It should be three. Now if you flip it back the other way to the averaging and take the same scenario where each driver nails the line and each driver nails the angle, the three judges will all give their full points for angle, give their full points for a line, but the three of them decide who goes first, second, and third because the three of them will decide on the style scores. So that's my biggest issue with dividing up the scores. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm not saying that scoring out of 100 the way we do it, averaging the scores is perfect either, but I have a new system. We ran it in Oman this year. It's keypad based, and it's basically the driver starts at the start line with 100 points, and we dock points for every error, and we can do it live. So we just knock points off as they're doing the run, and it worked brilliantly. All three judges, and one of them has just been on there a minute ago, Wada. We all really liked the system. It was very, very fast. It wasn't mentally taxing. We weren't even tired at the end of the day because we were only concentrating on the little mistakes they make as they do the run. And we decide beforehand on what we're docking for each mistake. And it worked amazingly. And it automatically averages the three judges' scores. So it worked really
Super
well.
simple.
So that's my take.
I think at the end of the day, you kind of pick. I mean, as a driver, right? So I've driven mostly to your criteria. My driving style, because it's fair to say that every single driver who competes has to learn the criteria, right? That's obvious, right? There's no point in even stating that. But even to the point of where us drivers have to know how to maximize the score for the judging criteria, and the thing is that for me, I know how to work the criteria that you judge. I know exactly what you guys want. It might be slightly different if you go to, let's say, Drift Masters or Formula D or something. You might take a while to kind of, as a driver, get used to the whole idea of adjusting to a new judging system. Would you think, because I mean, you've had drivers come over in the past. We've had many drivers, right? We've had Saito, we have Luke Fink, we had Mitch Larner, who actually spent 2 seasons in Ireland, and he left, I would say, a way better driver than when he ever came. Would you say that the criteria that you've developed would develop drivers more than other series, or do you think that's what I'm saying is the water we drink from Ireland is not like special by any means, right?
This is really good water.
Is it really good water?
Is
Is
good
it? Yeah,
water.
River Rock is fantastic. People, if you're ever here, you should try it. Or Ballygowan, that's a nice one
Straight out
too.
of the tap is good.
It's lime based, not line based, you know. But so like, I mean, I think what I would like to say is, like, I would think that the judging criteria in a series really develops a driver, and
It was kind of designed that way a little bit. Look, I suppose if you were comparing style based criteria to line based, okay, if you look at line based criteria, I believe, right, we had a structured system starting from the early pro drift days, structured. So you had your pro-ams on the Saturday, and you have your pros on the Sunday, and you have the top 4 or top 6, whichever it's going to be, on the Saturday, automatically allowed to run in qualifying on the Sunday to see if they can get into the pro class for the day, you know. And the thing is, when it's line based, it's not about horsepower.
yeah,
It's actually about precision. And Declan was on there a second ago. Deco.
my spotter.
He's spotter, yeah. Very, very, very good line driver. Okay, but let's be fair, he just didn't have big horsepower car. Yet, if you looked at him in the year that he did pro-am, look where he qualified. He was always qualifying up high. And I believe, right, if you have a system that rewards a good driver, regardless of his machine. So in other words, like, a really good driver he can jump in his car, he can do the criteria that was set out to him, he can nail the line. Maybe he's not making massive amounts of smoke, maybe he's not carrying massive angle, but he's precise and he'll score well. If you get a guy like that and he goes out and he does well, he's encouraged to stay at it. Now, if the same guy goes to another event where it's more style-based, where you need a lot of horsepower, you need to make a lot of smoke, you need to go big angle and everything else, all the things that you need power for,
Yeah,
he's going to go into qualifying and get nowhere and probably will give up.
yeah.
Whereas in our series, he's encouraged to upgrade his car because he's actually achieving something and he puts more and more into his car. And it does bring the really good drivers up, and they progress very quickly through our system.
It kind of gives them almost recognition for being someone who's underdog, and if this guy had something just a little bit more, it might be more of a responsible approach for companies and stuff.
Yeah, but they can get results, without, their driving ability can get them results more so than the car. I think the style base is more about the car. And look, that's not the right thing to say either. Of course, it's about the drivers. But it's, look, we can look at some of the Japanese guys in the 86s, and they were, exciting to watch as well, even though they didn't have big power. But in European drifting, it is all about power, especially when you start looking style based. Hey, Louis Edwards. Your power but raw talent. Louis would be an example. Again, a very, very good line driver. In fact, a lot of the good line drivers come from karting. Which I did too, actually. But a lot of karters make really good line drivers because again they understand line very well. Right, what we done it last year, 100 and minus. That's the way we do it. It's always been a difficult one though when we score this way. It does get a little vague at times, especially. I think you'll probably find yourself, Brad, that last year the guys in the 70s and the 80s are easy enough to score in the 90s. The higher the score is, the less mistakes they make, the easier they are to score. But as you go further down and there's more and more mistakes, that's when the judges' scores start kind of diverging a little bit and we don't be quite as close as we would be when there's a higher score. And I've always felt that once you're kind of getting down into the low 60s and into the 50s, these guys can get shafted a little bit because you're scoring so many different mistakes that it gets very, very vague. And if you looked at the event afterwards and took a few of those runs and dissected them, you could probably turn around and say, God, we should probably have given him a couple of extra points,
Would you think that's where maybe the style-based system might have a slight advantage in that is the last 10 points? Is that why you think Form-D might be kind of stuck between that 90 and 99 point runs?
No, the reason why their points are so high is because they've chosen to raise the benchmark scores, basically.
Okay.
That's all that is. We've often had discussion, when we've had scoring, or the scoring's only into the 80s, not into the 90s, and we should have started a bit higher. And that's the fact. Like, if you decided at the start of an event saying, okay, this kind of a run is going to be, it's not going to be an 85 this time, we're going to make that a 90-point run. Well, then everybody's going to be higher from there up, if they're better. That's all that is. But as I was going back to the vagueness of the scores, scoring out of 100, this is where the keypad system worked brilliantly because you're focusing on the errors and only the errors. You have actually no idea what the score is going to be until you look up at the screen afterwards. And it really, I think, when it comes down into the middle scores where you are scoring lots of mistakes, it's a lot more precise there. You know.
So what would be your opinion, let's say, on... Oops, I've just gone off into the trees here. Oh my god. Okay, I might reset. On the, let's say, the DOS system, electronic, because
Oh yeah, I
ultimately,
have experience of it.
ultimately, I suppose that would be the fairest. Should we say that in air quotes the fairest system, right? Because it's done by machines generally don't make mistakes. Now machines judging human things is kind of a problem, right?
I'll answer that in a second, Darren.
Yeah, answer
The
that.
DOS system. The DOS system. Well, okay, and I haven't got experience of actual DOS system. I did look at the specs of it. You know, it's complicated.
Which probably has changed since then, right? Because
They
it was a
did
couple years
change, I
ago.
think. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
complicated. The issue, like I will be into technology, and I always wanted to be able to use technology to assist the judging. I thought it was a great idea.
the
but
cat Joneses.
say hello. Look, this is great here. Look.
Mister.
Oh, he's fucked off again.
Oh, he's gone again. Yeah.
Yeah, but my experience of it was it's not reliable, and it's also open to be exploited. Like you know, we ran an event in Yas Marina back in 2013, 2014, around there, and at the time I was introduced to this telemetry system, used GPS positioning and all this kind of stuff, and they were trying to sell the idea to the series at the time, Drift UAE. So it was agreed at that event that we would run traditional judging, and we would run this telemetry system alongside it. It involved a box, we'll say, on each car, and it was able to monitor. Now, like for a start, Yas Marina, if anybody knows, it's a long circuit. I had 10 clipping points, but this DOS system could only this telemetry system could only do 3 clipping points. So they chose a 3 clipping point, and one of the clipping points is the first clipping point. Okay, and they had it set up so that on the first clipping point it measures your attack angle. Okay, which is a big thing. This big angle on entry. The only problem, if anybody knows, yes, you can't run the first clipping point with a big angle because you have you're going to a left, a quick right, and a quick left down into the bus stop chicane, which is long, open, can't be carried with big angle because you're effectively trying to extend the clipping points. You have to do it at a very high speed. So what ended up happening is our highest qualifiers in first, second, and third place were the guys who weren't having to straighten the bus stop chicane because they didn't carry big angle coming down the hill. The telemetry system's top qualifiers were our lowest qualifiers because those guys came in on big angle, had to straighten between the chicane to make the next corner, but the system didn't dock them for the straighten. I mean, it was that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just so it just ends up with. So yes, look, I'm sure there's systems out there that are going to improve things in the future, but not GPS based. Have to be a network, and then it gets really expensive to put these systems in.
Especially for, let's say, lower down series who, let's say, going by American terms like Pro Am, Pro 2 style. Even for many European countries that won't have many drifters, let's say maybe in Eastern Europe that mightn't have a lot of drifters and national drifters in one national country, it's kind of a lot of money to have spend up front. So yeah, we've got a few questions back. So Darren asked about your system.
Yeah, the keypad system. Yeah, yes, there's plans. I mean, we have the we've tested. We ran the system in qualifying in Oman for all rounds. It worked really well. There's also a battle version which I'm unsure of. We tested it. We're unsure of it, and one of the reasons we're unsure of it is because in battles you like to sit and actually have a look at the run, look at a replay of the run to pick up stuff and make up your mind. Whereas with this system, it doesn't give you that option. You had already declared the winner the very minute across the line.
Yeah.
I could see the benefit maybe for live TV, where you want events really fast, and you would have to sacrifice some parts of drifting in order to allow that to happen. It would be a possibility to use it for that. But the keypad system, the plan with it there is to have the live score up on the screen. So when the car comes up to qualifying, it lines up with the line, and in the top corner you'll see 100 points. And as we input the scores, it will automatically, in real time, the points will start dropping. So for every mistake, you'll see it drop a couple of points. And it's, as I said, it's an average of 3 judges. So for instance, if I press 1 point and the other 2 don't, it'll be 0.33 of a point will actually be taken off, because it's an average of the 3. And it works that way. And of course, the beauty of that is the drivers can go back afterwards, watch their qualifying the live stream, and they'll be able to see where they lost the points and how much points they lost for the mistakes they made. So I think it would be good that way. What else have we got?
So we got some of my sister's friends, well, some of my friends will come in here talking crap. You have stickers on your car that increase your game stats.
Somebody asked me, have I got dual calipers on the rear of my van?
That's Kevin.
No, I don't know, Kevin. No, I've only just. I think there might even be drum brakes.
I mean, speaking of your van, like your van is like stupidly fast anyway, so I don't think you'd want to have dual calipers. Well, actually that would help. The handbrake was unreal in it anyway, isn't it? So I mean, so let's go. So Brad mentioned there he used the drift box back to 2007 and he never saw how it worked due to angle, speed, and takes style out. So I assume what he's on about there was there was no real element for it to look at style.
Yeah, I did the Guinness World Record fastest drift event with the
Nismo GTR.
Yeah.
Kawabata.
And we used a drift box, and we had lots of problems. One of the issues was what speed was he doing? 290 kilometers an hour.
It was ridiculous.
Like
yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway, at 290 kilometers an hour, the drift box has to send its information up to a satellite and back down. The car was traveling so fast that it was plotting its position about 8 or 9 meters behind where it was. The car was traveling too fast, and it was completely messing up all the scores, all the
data you were using.
We were using, yeah, and it took us a while to figure out what was going on. So, like, this is something that wouldn't be factored in if you were actually using it in competition. On faster events, you're actually going to have, it won't be that accurate, it's going to give you conflicting information in place. So
that would kind of beg the question though, what points does the DOS lose that accuracy, you know? Because like you mentioned, it was like 8 meters behind at 290 kilometers. Now, was it at 190 kilometers, or was it at 100 kilometers did it start losing its accuracy?
I don't know.
But the fact that it has it at 290,
it's not real time. Like then it's a delay on it, you know.
Yeah.
But that was extreme. Obviously, that's a very extreme.
Yeah. So I mean, Lawrence says, "What's the crack in chat? Oh, what's the crack, man? What's the crack, Lawrence?" Rushy, no, not Rushy. David, thoughts on FIA regulations? Have you haven't read through the new rulebook, have you?
Are you talking about the actual car regs?
Yeah, so like some of those including that the roll cage needs to be TIG welded and
yes.
I
think
you need to have a fueling system and stuff.
I think maybe one thing I picked up on alright was I haven't read all of them. I haven't read it in detail, but I was glancing down through it. I did see someone putting a post up about this, about the welded diffs. I completely understand. I can understand from a safety perspective and from trying to make the cars a little bit more professional. Not that the cars aren't already very professional; they are, I think, in my opinion. But the not allowing a welded diff is daft, I think. You know, I mean, that has absolutely no bearing at all on safety. So stuff like that shouldn't.
What's that? The welded differentials and stuff, is it?
Yeah, they're not allowing welded diff.
Yeah.
You know, which That's what
A question from Joy is interesting. What do you see with the future of the season being as round one has been cancelled, future rounds being cancelled, or replacement rounds?
gonna be a tricky year.
I think I assume you're talking about Ireland and I suppose other series around the world like Formula D. But I think it's fair to say there's going to be a lot more cancellations. In my opinion, anyway.
I mean, it's everything's up in the air. Let's be realistic here. This could go for 5 or 6 months. We're hoping that the virus will die with this when the summer comes in, which that mightn't happen. In which case, this year could be a complete write off from a drifting perspective.
Yeah.
Hope it's not going to be the case. It is possible. And it's not feasible for any drift event to be run behind closed doors with no spectators because it's actually it's just cost too much to put an event on. You actually need spectators coming in. So not feasible to try and do behind closed doors unless you have a venue that's really cheap to hire. And I know in the UK, and Brad will probably, or Matt will probably agree with me here, it's not going to be possible to do it in the UK. Their events are very, very expensive to put on.
Yeah.
Ireland, not so bad. But even Wargrass Hill is expensive when you look at it for the weekend. Okay, so you would be looking for the drivers to fund the cost of the event, and I don't think the entries would cover it. People would probably have to pay more on entry to try and get their events in. So maybe it's something that could be looked at. But we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out. But sure, nobody knows at the moment how it's going. Darren, FIA don't have a clue about drifting. Every FIA event so far has been crap. Every FIA event so far has been operating in Japan under the DOS rules. I think the last event they've just used the DOS, just using the data from DOS. We have an issue there because I think the Japanese drivers have all learned to operate to compete under the DOS system now and are struggling a little bit now with the more technical rules that we use from European and American drifting.
Yeah.
So
I think I remember watching that because it was a D1 driver who qualified third, I think it was. I can't think of his name, but he was driving the RE RX-7. He qualified third, and I think the fellow who qualified first was Charles Ng, who was an ex-Formula D driver, so and actually an ex-WTCC World Touring Car driver, so he kind of knew his way around, adapting to different, oh my god, driving styles and stuff like that. As I decided to go straight through a mountain, another one, and another one. So I think. So yeah, it was one of those. I think it was one of those events. Darren mentions Italian event. So that was the Motorsport Games.
Oh yeah.
I think the track layout, first of all, had potential, but I just think it was just way too long and just didn't really work as a drift layout realistically.
Well, okay. Look, you needed the Italian event. If you looked, first of all, the weather was desperate. I mean,
okay, you can't do anything. But
events where there's wet and has been terrible. And look, there wasn't like there was. I'm not saying that the drivers weren't drivers. The drivers there are right.
Yeah.
But there was no real top line drivers there, and I think the FIA have to get over that hurdle first. They need to kind of get the events
attractable for the big
good enough
guys.
For the good guys to want to do and enter it. And so I think it's going to take a while before they get the rules, maybe the judging rules and everything else correct, before get the top line drivers going. It worked out well. Someone said they were skipping a lot of things popping up so fast. Alan's socks are showing.
Second last comment was it?
Alan, where do you find those socks?
Those socks? I've had these for ages.
This is sensitivity should you use on my
so what sensitivity should I use my T3 when I hold on the button? What sensitivity should I use on my T300? I mean, when you hold down the mode button and press...
D-pad left.
I'm not really sure what you mean by that, Jack. Unfortunately, I've never had any sensitivity option on my wheel. I think you mean steering degrees, is it? You mean steering degrees? Run 900. Any ideas who the experts were that were consulted regarding the class rules?
How do you mean by class rules? Are we talking
I assume in the FIA.
the judging criteria, or
Yeah, that's kind of a vague question.
as for the judging criteria, I did sit in on one meeting. It's difficult. So, yeah, this is where I'm in conflict with a lot of other people judging myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weather was shocking, but the rain actually helped people link the track. Track there was very disappointing for if.
Oh,
yeah. To be honest with you, I watched a few of the runs. I think I did have a look at the track before, even. I did think that there was a very long pull between two of the corners, if I remember right. I think we might have even have discussed it, and that should have finished it.
Well, they ended up finishing it. So you had the very, very tight hairpin, yeah, and then you had a left-right chicane after that, and that's where they finished it. They tried to. I think the proposed layout was to link it into the very, very last really long corner, which is impossible to link in there.
What are the true benefits of the FIA being involved? I suppose, okay, if you look at where drifting is going at the moment, right, you've got all these series. I mean, take the Irish series first. The Irish series realised last year that it couldn't compete on a world stage. It was a small little country trying to compete on an international stage, and you can't, like, a national series, and basically that's what we were. A national series can't compete with Formula Drift or Drift Masters because the cost, the live stream costs and everything else, it gets so high that eventually you have a situation where drivers are paying too much for entries to try and fund the series. You're relying on getting people in the gate, and the live stream is taking people from the gate because it's so good, so you're struggling to stay alive. And I think that's basically what was happening in Ireland last year. So this year in the changed to Irish Drift series, so it's taking a step back, which is the correct thing to do. The FIA though, the FIA get involved, and if they get it right, you have a situation where possibly you have national championships like in Ireland and other countries who have maybe one big event a year where they can send their best drivers out to compete to represent their country. Now, you know, I can see the benefit in that, and that possibly maybe down the road might attract maybe car manufacturers and stuff to get involved, you know, because it's made a little bit more legitimate.
As part of the FIA, it's a big deal.
And I also understand that in Europe, a lot of tracks are not open to drifting in Europe because they're not FIA sanctioned events.
Yeah.
So in Europe, a lot of the countries in Europe, it's important to them to be involved with the FIA. In Ireland, we're not sanctioned by the FIA. We're not under the Motorsport Ireland umbrella. I have spoken to them. I've had meetings with them, and you know, I would like to see Irish drivers take their cars and compete in hill climbs and rally sprints and stuff, just to expand their horizons a little bit. And possibly through that avenue may be able to get FIA license to allow them to compete abroad. As for bringing the drifting in Ireland under the FIA umbrella, I think we're a long way away from that yet.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there are regulations for top tier drifting, right, that they've brought in. They're not expecting every single driver right down as far as the grassroots guys who only do one event a year or something like that have a fully blown TIG welded cage. I suspect that their top regulations are for, let's say, the GT3 FIA class. Do you know what I'm saying? Like where actual manufacturers compete in. For quality of cars and stuff like that anyway.
Mike said, the FIA said in their statement that the regulation is written up with other experts of the sport and other series.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, look, yes, they did. I mean, Formula Drift there. Quite a few different drift series were there. Um, they had two meetings. They have the drifting working group, the judging, and they have another group which was more or less the organisers were involved in. So the structuring of the events, I suppose, were done by the organisers. They spoke to the judges. Then I was in on one meeting, and now it was a Skype call because here's the issue, right? If drifting in Ireland were under Motorsport Ireland, which was the FIA sanctioned body in Ireland, I would have been paid to go to Paris to sit in on this event, sit in on this meeting, this working group, right? But because I'm not, I would have had to go at my own expense. And whereas I was willing to go to Paris, when I actually looked at flights from Cork, I was literally going to have to stay there for 3 days because there's only one flight a day going over, and it comes back literally an hour after it goes over. So you couldn't make it work. So I wasn't willing to do that. So what I did do, I did go and do a Skype call, and I sat through 3.5 hours of a meeting or something, and we discussed lots of stuff. But it's very, very difficult to do these meetings unless you're actually there, because you want to get in on something and you can't put your hand up or you can't be interrupting, and it's just very, really.
It's just awkward, I suppose, and just not really legit or something like that.
And the thing is, like, some of the stuff that I have to say is not popular. It's not the way they want to do it. And I'm not talking about the FIA, I'm talking about the other people involved in the working group. They have their own ideas. It's like anything, I have my ideas. Of course, I think my ideas are the best, just like they think theirs is better. And maybe theirs are better, who knows. But I worry about the direction it's going. Just say it there. They would like anyway, not the one involved in it at the moment, so I'm not balls on. I've been asked several times that want me to come in and talk on the events and stuff, but yeah, it says to my face, but then I never get the invitation, so they go off to have their meetings. So I don't think they want me there.
No, I said they don't want you in there, is it?
Probably not.
I think they would take you in there. It's just there is. I think they have enough people that they haven't really realized the full potential of what other people can bring into it and stuff. They're just doing they're just looking at the figures of the series that are the most popular right now and what they're doing, and like obviously Formula D one being the most popular one to attend. FIA are going to look at the figures that they have and they say, right, okay, this is the biggest following, these are the most drivers, these have the best drivers, maybe we should listen to these guys because they seem to know what they're doing, and FIA I think are just based off that. That's just my personal opinion. Obviously it's probably completely wrong altogether, but I don't know. To be fair though, the last FIA events that they've been running are all based off what they feel is the right way, and they've just been trying things.
They've got better though.
They have gotten a lot better, and I think that's, we give them all the crap they've been getting, but I'm pretty sure if they ran 4 of those events and changed things every single time, they'd be way further than what they are right now.
Yeah, but I think the only mistake they've made is actually by going to Japan is their mistake. I think because they're starting. If you look at where they started, the first time they went out to Japan, it was completely DOS. Now I spoke to the judges who were involved in that. They told me the stories. They were literally judging their hands by their sides. They literally they could do nothing. But that was 3 years ago. And every year it's improved. And if you look at it now, it is steering more and more towards maybe more European style drift judging. So maybe the FIA would have shortcutted all those problems and just if they just done it in Europe or even in America at the start, they probably wouldn't. They probably would be a lot further on now, I think. Funnily enough, though, at that FIA meeting, there was a vote forward on averaging versus adding.
Yeah.
And there was the Japanese judge from France, himself, and another guy were hands up, felt that it should be averaged.
Yeah.
And the others, like a 5-4.
Yeah, it was very close, I saw.
Close enough.
Yeah.
So the Japanese still believe in the old system, because the Japanese started with the 100 points and you dock points for errors, which I think is still the right way to do it.
It's the most simplistic way when you think about it.
It is.
I mean, you're not going to overcomplicate something if what you're doing at that time is very simple, which is just drifting 1 or 2 corners. Like, you're not going to come up with all these criterias off the bat. So, like, and at the end of the day, drifting in recent years has simplified when you think about it. Like, it's all about, outside lines, all this stuff, and it has numbed down a lot in recent years to the naked eye when you think about it.
Well, it should be too, though. I mean, this is the problem with drifting; it's too complicated. I mean, if you want to attract new people in the gate, and this has always been my thought,
and spectators in and kind of sponsor stuff.
You shouldn't be designing rules and regulations for drivers and for drift fans. They should be judged. They should be. That's landed on my lap again. You should design rules for spectators and for new spectators coming in, so they will want to come back, because it's the only way the sport grows, bringing in new people all the time. So so the more complicated you make the judging, the more complicated you make the rules, the more confused the people in the grandstands are, and they don't understand, they don't get what's going on. And this is a big problem, I think. And it's a problem actually that when you leave drivers make the rules up, the rules start getting way too technical altogether over silly little things like wheel straightening and too much handbrake, all this kind of stuff, which really, if you look at it from the outside and from a spectator, it's like they're all just tiny little things. They shouldn't be a big thing. I'm not saying they don't have a place for all of this stuff, but it shouldn't be a big thing. Like scoring a 0, for instance, right? I believe you should only score a 0 if you go 4 wheels off the track or if you spin. That's it. You get 0 for nothing else. Alright, yeah, if you drive around the first corner and you don't drift, fine, But, like, the scenario, right? Okay, let's say you're in a battle, and one guy comes down and he spins. So the other fella's a 10-0. Right? And then the next run, the guy who has the 10 comes down, and for a split second he has a little tiny straighten, and he gets a 0. And then it gets to the end of the run and it's a 1 more time. And everyone's going, what? One more time? Because how can you say that a spin coming to a dead stop in the track is exactly the same as somebody whose wheels straighten for 2 seconds or 1 second? That's daft, like, and people in the grandstand who didn't see the little wheel straighten are going, can't understand it. What's going on here?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff for me is silly. And it's lazy too, because as a judge you can decide how to penalise somebody for all those little mistakes, or you can take the easy option and going, 0. It's easy for the judges. They shouldn't be like that. That's why 4 wheels off, not 1 wheel. Thing is, 4 wheel. You need the 4 wheels off because you want guys to push really hard, and if they drop 2 wheels because they're pushing so hard,
you don't want them to pussy out, like.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want them to be careful in case they touch a cone and get a 0 or all that kind of stuff. So, Darren had a big long post, and everybody's post up above that disappeared off the screen. So, and now he's the half.
If you move the mouse,
he was on about.
If you move the mouse to the Google Chrome, there you can open it up on Facebook.
Maybe you can just stretch this.
No, you might be able to do that. Yeah, try that.
I don't need to see you on the screen now.
That's
I can see you here beside me. Where are we? Darren, interested to hear your take on TIG welding cages. Darren, you're asking me stuff now. You're just trying to.
Yeah, well, Darren, here's the fabricator. We should get Darren on sometime and let him talk about his stories, maybe.
Okay. Rally cars though are FIA sanctioned. MIG welding. Well, that's an interesting point. So why are they specifying TIG welding cages?
But it's kind of like they're saying that drift cars need to be safer than rally cars, but in reality,
crazy, like.
Yeah, like I mean, you get into drifting because it's safer than rallying.
What do you think their reason for actually getting involved? The reason they're getting involved in drifting is because other forms of motorsport are declining, and very soon they'll be the world sanctioning body of a few people. Look, it's drifting is growing massively.
Oh,
It's the motorsport of the younger generation, and of course, FIA have to get involved. Um, their role in the world is going to be lessened because they're going to have less and less
talking to the microphone there, Dad.
series.
You're not being picked up on the
Okay,
microphone.
well, it's because the cat isn't.
Oh, right.
Anyway, did I cut off there? Did I? Or?
Yeah, it was kind of cutting off as well, but
Okay. Which of the top series do you think will adopt the new rules?
I don't think any will. Not so much right now. Maybe Formula
Are
D.
we talking FIA new rules or what?
But I think Formula D have already taken on some of them. Like for example, the SFI, bell housings and stuff like that. Formula D have taken it on.
Mm.
As for the roll cage thing, I don't really know. You
The,
see,
the
we have to
roll
look.
the roll cage thing, okay. As long as you know, if it's a case the new car has been built, it has to be built with TIG welding.
Yes,
Then
yeah,
maybe that's not so bad, you know. If
yeah,
it's better, I mean, I don't know if it is or not. I'm not a welder, but then that's fine. But to impose that on everybody who wants to compete in an FIA event would be suicide for them because they'll have nobody entering.
yeah. There'll be only a few cars. Um,
Uh,
Understanding what is happening for new people is really hard in drifting. That's why I like watching VDC, which is the Virtual Drift Championship. The judges make their judgment calls public, so you can learn what makes a good run. With real life events, the casters mostly try to generate hype. Um,
yeah, well,
but it's something you've been doing for
yeah,
years since the
IDC,
very
yeah,
start.
we've done it for years. Years we've been explaining our calls. In recent years, that's been dumbed down more and more because the more professional the IDC became, um, the less opportunity we had to explain our calls because time was we were on such a tight schedule, so we didn't have a lot of time to explain our runs. We still did it, but we probably didn't go into as much detail as we would have before.
Yeah,
And like you know, for every person who wants to hear a detailed explanation, you might have 5 people who just want to see the next run. You know, so you have to kind of strike
yeah.
a balance there.
Same with those people that want to have car sounds over commentary and all that stuff.
Big welding cage will be very expensive, probably 4 times labor and time. Yeah, well, look, I did TIG welding, Darren, as you know, and it's bloody slow, very very slow. Will probably look a lot nicer.
It would look very nice, I'd say. I mean, if you really cared about it that much,
Why is the cat sitting
which
on
you
my
should
lap?
be. He usually does that. The cat usually comes in. He says
He
hellos to
doesn't
me.
sit on my lap when I'm sitting over on the other
No,
chair.
but he usually, when I'm sitting in that chair, he sits in my lap, and then he goes over to um uh to another person's lap. So Chris is the head judge of VDC, so
Hi,
he's just
Chris.
admitting of stealing the
Well,
idea of
IDC.
having judge explain calls. So, like, to kind of explain VDC's rules, so VDC People is the Virtual Drift Championship. It's a league based here on Assetto Corsa. They use their system based on a licensing kind of system. So, because I'm a pro, a pro, they gave me automatically a license for it, which has worked out great because I haven't had to do any licensing events or anything like that. But if you want to get a license, you have to do license events, which they don't do anymore. Now you have to compete in, let's say, a pro-am competition to gain your license, and their system is the adding uh, method, which you've discussed already. But the way they do it is they've split it up into what they believe is the most important part. So like 60 for line, uh, 35 for line, 35 for angle, and then 20 for 20 for style. Is that right? Oh no, 40, 40, 20. That's what it is. Sorry, maths is not a great thing. I don't care about maths anymore. So that's how they kind of do it. I mean, you've stated. I remember you stating before that you believe majority of the runners goes to line. You stated that already. Do you kind of have a figure in your head where you feel
Yeah, it's about 70%, I think.
70%?
Yeah. Um. Now, Driftmasters last year, not sure what they're going to do last year. 2018, when I did it, it was scored. It was 70 for a line, I think, but it was average across the 3 judges.
Yeah.
Okay, it was average. Last year, added, and the way they worked it was The first judge had 30 for line, second judge had 30 for line and 5 for impact, I think. And third judge then had 25. That was split across 15 for entry. Whatever. Kind of complicated. But one of the problems I have with this, apart from what I was saying about the splitting and not averaging, the averaging is my biggest issue with all. See, let's go back to spectators for a second. If you have, I've done it myself. I watch Formula Drift and I watch Drift Masters and I watch qualifying, and yeah, a lot of the time you're scoring and you get fairly close to where the judge scores are, but sometimes you get scores in that are baffle you. And I think this is because of the fact they're splitting the scores, because if you're watching the screen and watching a run, you're scoring the complete run in your head out of 100 points, effectively. Whereas they're splitting it up into different sectors, they're splitting it up into fine angle style and stuff. So they're coming up with different scores of what the people are seeing. Hence why a lot of people are banging on the keyboards going, I don't understand that call. You know what I mean? It's just because it's done differently. And you know, as an individual watching, you can only do it out of 100 in your head, which is why I feel it should be kind of similar to what people are seeing, because the scoring should make sense to the people watching.
Yeah.
The other thing they've been doing too is they've been splitting up the track into sectors, again to make the judge. So they would actually break the track up into three. One judge is taking one section, all the rest. Again, I did that with BDC years ago when I first started doing BDC back in 14, I think it was. I didn't like it because when you have technical layouts, you effectively are drifting from the minute you initiate to the point you finish. It's like one long corner.
Yeah.
And it might you'll have transitions and stuff, but you are never, at no stage have you got a break in what you're doing. So it's like if I was doing one sector, I found it very, very hard to ignore what the guy was doing before he got to me. And I found it very hard to ignore what he was doing as he was leaving my sector. You know, because how he entered my sector was just as important as when he was in my sector. So I felt I just didn't like doing it that way, you know.
I suppose the other method of the sector system is all the judges judging their sector. Do you get what I'm saying? So you have section 1 and you section 2, 3, 4. But I suppose, you know, the reason why you never used that back in the day, you might have tried it. Like, I do remember you trying it in Rose Green many years ago, like 15 years ago. Like this is where now, like this is. I think one thing to stress is that like you have developed your criteria since 2002, and you've tried everything that a lot of series are even trying right now, and you kind of like thinking, oh my god, I've done this before.
Yeah, I did.
You know?
I did the sectors back in 2004. I think it was 2005. I actually had a sheet. I found it there. I'm like, oh my god! Like, you know, I remember when I found inside my files of stuff we had done back in 2005. Sector scoring we had tried. We tried loads of stuff over the years, and eventually, I think by 2008 we had settled on the system we run now, more or less. It's been tweaked every year, lightly, but it's the same system because it just. But for me, it worked anyway, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you try to use a sector system like on old school Mandela layout, which is only 2 corners, I mean, where does your sector system start and end, right? Like, do you have a 2-sector system of 50 points, or do you 60-40? Like, in reality, first corner is worth a lot more than the second corner.
Yeah.
So you can't value the second corner 50 points and the first one 50 points, you know.
I did think about this some time ago about different we say directions, the different directions different series have taken. Okay, for instance, if you look at FD and how they developed the split scoring system, right? If you look at the way we went with our system. I do believe the type of tracks that you are using to drift on dictate a little bit the direction you go. Because if you looked at in Ireland we had.
Just move my mouse when I was using it. It's like
Sorry. In Ireland, if you looked at the events we had, okay, we started off in Rose Green. There's an oval track, small little oval track with a kind of a kart track in the middle, and we went from there to Mandela, and then we had car park events. We had no other tracks, so we had to get creative with the layout. So that's why we got so technical with line and everything else, because it allowed us to make more of what we had. And of course, once we went to car parks, we were designing tracks in completely, and designing them for battles and stuff. But if you look at America, in America they were using big banked ovals, and to put a really high score in for line on a banked oval probably would make no sense at all, because everybody will run high. You either run the high line or you're not. You know what I mean? And even from a judging perspective, you probably can't even look down on the line to see. Oh, there's probably not enough in the run.
Yeah.
I mean, initiate, you're on a bank for maybe 15 seconds on a big long, or 10 seconds or whatever, big long oval, and you're looking at proximity there. So there's not an awful lot to score.
If it was like 3 or 4 corners in that space of time, you have a bit more in a shorter period.
So we were running with events with 6, 8, 10, 12 clips, because we would have several transitions, we'd have lots of corners, which was a load of information there for us to judge on.
Yeah, but I suppose if it's just one corner, you're just looking at the same thing for the whole corner. So maybe small mistakes.
If they're the tracks that you're doing events on, I can see how the way you judge, you'll have issues when you're trying to judge it, and maybe when they were scoring out of 100, they were finding it very, very difficult to separate the drivers or something. So they came up with different ways, whereas we didn't have that issue. So that kind of suggests that one rule doesn't work for all.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're on big circuits, that style of judging doesn't really work when you go into tight technical stuff. If you go back to Formula Drift last year, what was that new event they did where they had the light bit in the middle?
Oh, St. Louis?
Yeah, and they were struggling with the judging there, but a lot of that could be down to the fact that their judging criteria of splitting the scores over a track like that possibly doesn't work well.
Doesn't work, yeah. Because that layout was very, very technical, right? It had that inner clip that you had to make sure you got the line into it right to be able to link the next corner up onto the pretty much the bank.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that layout was the ideal designed layout for that track layout. I think
the only issue I found with it was not the decel zone. The last decel zone too early. I think it was early one. I think it was after the clipping point. Or was it before? I can't remember anyway, but I do remember thinking that I thought the decel zone. Very nice. That's it. Brad is gone. Goodbye, Brad. Hey, Ryan, how are things? Remember been scored for. Oh, the early BDC days. You were probably there for that as well.
He was driving, yeah, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah, he would have been driving at that time. Yeah.
Well, in the BDC, he was a judge had one sector, right? And it all added up to 100 by the end of it.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something like that,
it was like split 30, 31.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, right? Not only were we splitting up the track, but we were actually standing on different parts of the track too. So I remember doing one event where it was absolutely torrential in Knockhill, and standing in a marshal's hut, and the rain was lashing straight in, and it was catching me. I was able to get a little bit of shade, but the rain was hitting me from the waist down, so my legs and everything, the water was just running down into my shoes and everything. Yeah, 2014 that was. Alright, yeah. At the time, you see, I didn't like the splitting of the judges either, because I felt, okay, you're doing it for qualifying, and when it comes to battles then, you're then going to have to all go into the one place. It just didn't make sense to split the judges up. You're better off if all three judges are sitting in the one place, seeing the track from that one position, because when it comes to battles, that's the view they're going to have for the whole day. So, yeah, like as I say in briefings there very often, it's not what actually happens out on the track, it's what appears to happen from where we're sitting. So if we're sitting in a location, it's just better to judge from what you can see there and then. Actually, and just to mention another thing to do with live stream. Yeah, Ryan, that's right. This is where when we did semi-pro on the that's right. Yeah, that's where I got actually wet, Ryan. Lower section of that. But just going back to live stream, because we use replay screens, okay, so we generally are watching the run from our tower, and we watch the run, and then we'll watch a replay of the battle afterwards. Because what often happens, you'll pick up stuff when you watch the replay that you didn't see when you're watching it in the first place. Very often we would see, for instance, might watch the run, and you might see a little tiny straighten or guy decelerating earlier than he should have, or something like that, and then you watch the replay, no sign of it happening at all, and you'll say, I tell you, he did a little straighten there, and it's not showing up on the screen. So this is a bit of an issue, I think. Everybody watching the live stream are watching on just the live stream alone, and it just doesn't give you enough of information on itself. I would not like to be judging just the screen alone. It would be easy to do, because then everybody in the live stream would agree with your calls probably, or mostly. But when you're watching the event not on the screen, or watching it live there and then, and you can hear the sound of the cars, and you can see them, the speed that they're carrying and how much they're slowing, decelerating in certain areas, because your eyes can do that. It can't do it when you're watching a screen. You don't get that information, so you miss out an awful lot. And I think it maybe is a problem that FD have too, because the information you can get from live stream and watching a replay is you can see line very, very well. So you can judge line very well off of it. You have a pretty good idea how much angle the guy is carrying, but you don't get impact at all. And speed is another thing that doesn't come across very well on the screen. So if you have a series that's scoring high on style, we'll say, and their percentage for line is low, well then nobody is going to agree with a lot of the calls that have been made.
Okay.
And I think that's where a lot of the problem often happens. 100% difference between screen and live. Seen it happen. Yeah, I guarantee you, I've been saying this for years. Like, we've the benefit of getting, of scoring a run using both. Now in Oman this year, the last track, we were nearly, I say, 80% watching the screen, because of the smoke. And smoke the cars are making these days is becoming more of a problem, so you're relying more and more on monitors to watch the runs. So that is a bit of an issue, alright.
Do you think, where do you think the future holds for drifting? I mean, FIA getting involved, that suggests potential world championship and stuff potentially down the line. Is that where, I assume that's where FIA are getting these regulations from. They're trying to make this, clear-cut, official, super safe, super FIA-like, right? Where do you kind of see it going?
I worry at the moment because sponsors aren't there. It is a bit of an issue, I think. You've got, in Ireland there, everybody's self-funded effectively. Maybe stepping it back like it's been stepped back this year is good for the sport here. And we'll just look after our own patch, and put on fun events that everybody enjoys, and the rest of the world won't witness it. But the cost of the live stream and the effect it does on the gate numbers means that you can't sustain a series. Well, then you're just going to have to cut it out, What I'd like to see, whether it's the FIA or whether it's some other series doing it, I would just like to see a world championship round where the best drivers from each country are sent out to compete, with proper support, though. You know what I mean? With sponsored event where the drivers, are not having to put their hands in their own pockets to buy all the bit. Oman this year was very good. Oman, they're fun to bring in cars out. Yeah, look, there is expense for anybody who goes out and do it. You have to buy your own tires and your own fuel and stuff. They do cover all the costs of everything else. Yeah. And it's a great event to do. I mean,
it's a great incentive for drivers to go and do it, because
I've done the 3 years of it now, and I love going out there. It's
amazing place, isn't it?
They're just great people as well, and very, very enjoyable event to do. And of course, you're getting out of Ireland when the weather is really bad, and you're going to really nice weather. People say to me, "Yeah, it was really bad winter at home this year." I go, "Well, I shouldn't feel that bad to me." Well, no wonder it did, because I was probably out there for 6 weeks or something in the sun. So, but yeah, Oman is a great event.
Ryan brought up a great question there about which run would you actually give 100 if you had a, if you were there again. That makes sense. Because you've seen many runs in the past. You have given max scores before, but that was in the super lap,
Very
which
few, like.
yeah,
Yeah, very few. I think I do remember doing super lap, and I think we gave a perfect 10, and Ryan didn't. Ryan doesn't like giving out perfect 10s.
no, it doesn't.
If you had one run, can't answer that one, Ryan. Like I have done rounds. I mean, James Dean obviously has come to getting 100 off me. 98, I think he. And to give 100, I wouldn't give a 100-point run to somebody just so we could give somebody a 100-point run. I am completely and solely looking for something that's not. I'm looking for perfection. And I remember one round last year in Oman with James, and I dropped him 2 points. And Michael Sheehan came. Did he lose the 2 points? One was there, like 6 inches from the line. The thing is, that is what you're looking. You're looking for the tiniest little mistakes. You know? Especially when you're getting up to 97, 98, 99, you're looking for that perfect run, and there's not many people in the world who can match James when it comes to that. You know?
Yeah.
Pull out those amazing. And like they're so good, you could say, oh, that's a 100-point run all day. But if you find a tiny little mistake in it, you know, I'm going to press that button like I did this year. I had the 1 point button to press there, so for any tiny little mistake, and I pressed it. I pressed it on James a couple times, you know. Pressed it on you a few more times than him, by the way. But anyway, yeah. Only issue actually, just going back to the scoring system with the keypads, is we have a bit of an issue with style. Impact was. I don't like using the word style. I'm more impact. I think impact is a better word to describe what we're actually scoring there, because we're scoring the run from the start to finish, and you can't, like, if you watch a run and sit back afterwards and watch the run, you can decide, oh, that had a great impact, so you can be a little bit more generous with your score. But when you're scoring live there and then, you don't have that opportunity. Now, I do have a plus button on the keypad that I can actually add points at the end, but we don't generally do it. Having to try and factor in the style into the scoring as you're doing. In other words, if a guy is, I was scoring, say, on a clipping point, if you just brushed the edge of the clipping box, just barely got your wheel to it, you lost 5 points. If you're halfway into the clipping box, you lost 2 points. And if you're all the way into the clipping box on the very edge of the track, you don't press the button at all, you lose no points. So we were trying to factor in, if a guy had very little angle and he was halfway into the clipping box, he'd lose maybe 4 points, whereas if he had big angle, he might only lose 1 or 2. You know, that kind of way. That's how we were factoring style, but it's difficult to do it with that particular. What else have we got? Where would you hold this World Championship event? Buttevant. Yeah, we'd hold it in Buttevant, wouldn't we, Alan? This would be handy for us. We'd only have to just 2 miles down the road.
2 miles down the road, yeah.
Find a big field or something. Where Oman is mega. Loved every second of it and hope to go back next year. David. Oh yeah, David. Yeah, that's a great event. Yeah, everything about it is good, isn't it? It's just relaxed, laid back. Everybody is happy. We have all got the sun. Mosquitoes are eating the shit out of us, all right, but apart from that, it's all good. Yeah, right. Yeah, that was you. You got a bit of stick too for not giving that perfect time. We had Matt Carter at Buxton, was the closest I ever to 100. Tiny lift that dropped it. This is the thing though, Ryan, isn't it? It is, you are looking to get 100 points, has to be absolutely perfect, and you can't find any mistake. And when you do, when you're judging, when you see something, you can't unsee it. Like, you know what I mean? You just, your fingers not wanting to press that button, but you just can't. You know that you have to, because it is a mistake. Do you think drifting will ever get mainstream like superbike or touring cars, or do you think it'll stay where it is?
I think it is kind of mainstream though.
Yeah, well, this kind of comes back to what I was saying about keeping the rules simple. It'll never get mainstream if we get so bogged down in the technicalities, the really small technical shit that nobody sees. And this is why I've been on about it for years. Keep the rules as simple as you possibly can make it. Because what you want is you want to get mothers and fathers and sons and daughters and grandfathers and grandmothers and bisexuals and all kinds of other stuff that comes in. Anyway, you want to get them all in the gate and you want them to watch and you want them to go away with a smile on their face. That they enjoyed it and they understood it. And I do think that if you're sitting in there and you don't understand what's going on, you go out and you kind of go, I actually don't know what I watched. Because it's very easy to explain to somebody the first over the line wins or the fastest over from between point A and point B is the winner. But it's very, very difficult at times when it's been judged. We as judges have a responsibility to try and make it simple and try and make it attractive to casual viewers, you know. That's the only way it's going to grow to become mainstream, I think. So laid back and chill out. Yeah, that was, oh man, really well. The other thing, of course, is track design. Track design is a big part of what I do. I do all the track designs. I do them obviously for Ireland. I did them for Roman. Doing stuff for Drift Masters last year. Do all that stuff, and I do think track design has a massive part to play too. And I think it has a big part to play in why a lot of judges have gone away from scoring out of 100. Because, okay, I'll give you an example. 2018 Drift Masters event in Hungary. I can't remember the name of the track.
Trackwood?
That was the name of the Trackwood?
Yeah, or Hungaro. No, that's the Trackwood, yeah.
Yeah, okay, the track itself was fine from a judging perspective, but we were scoring high percentage, I think it was, I said 70 points or 70% for line. But the line on the track, it's not that the line there wasn't a technical layout. I made it technical, but our view of the track was so poor we couldn't score a line very well at all. I mean, it's a really weird one because we're basically three people standing in a tower, and we were basically watching the cars enter, and we were all in a line, and we're like river dance, dancing backwards, because I have to keep moving. Like I was on the fully to the left, and we all have to shuffle backwards because the car comes around us, and then there's a load of trees blocking the track and you can't see, so we have a big screen there to show when the cars are passing behind the trees so we can watch the cars. But I have to keep shuffling backwards, and the guy in the middle has to shuffle backwards so that the third judge can actually see the screen. So just ridiculous. But because the track was difficult to see, we were finding it very, very difficult to score the run. So I think myself that an awful lot of the problems with scoring out of 100 is, one, your view of the track has to be high. You have to be able to see the line, because that's hugely important. And if you did score that way and you were struggling with it, a lot of it came down to the actual tracks you were using. Because our layouts became very technical. You're doing car park events, you can make really technical layouts. And when you have a technical layout with lots of clip points, scoring out of 100 is very easy to do. But it's bloody hard when you don't have that, if the track doesn't suit itself to it. So.
Do you... Okay, so let's kind of talk about drifting this year and stuff. Mike brought up about who do you think will be top 3 in Drift Masters this year. I mean, we can kind of think ahead and look at the season coming up, but I mean, it's going to be difficult to kind of remain that positive that something's going to happen this year, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, well assuming that it will, maybe later in the year it might. Okay, well, obviously, James will be the first person on the list, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He's obviously going to be top 3, you would hope. Sorry, not your hope, but expect. James is still developing that BMW, I think. No, he was testing it there recently in Watergrass Hill. I think he mentioned that power steering issues he had all last year, he thinks he has them sorted now.
Yeah.
If that's true, and he gets that car sorted, it'd be hard to bet against him. You know?
I mean, obviously that last year the car was not in its at its 100%. It was probably at 80% of its ability.
Kind of reminds me of the year he ran the RX-7 for the first time.
Yeah.
You remember? Yeah. And with SR20 in the front of it, and he had won everything for years years before that. And he came on, and next thing, I think Mike win that championship that
Yeah,
year.
Mike won the
Mike
championship
won the
that
championship
year.
that year, but he actually wasn't winning, and it was completely because he was developing the car. And it was near the second last round. I think it was Moy or something. I remember when he started to get that car to work, and then you could see straight away James was back. So
Yeah,
a year of development, whereas a year of development would be a year for a lot of people. With James, it's a few rounds really, but it's difficult in Drift Masters because everybody's at such a high level. If you're just a tiny bit off, if you're only 5% off, you're perfect. You could be struggling to stay
yeah,
there,
yeah.
to stay at the top. But if he gets that car sorted this year, he'll be hard to beat. Dwayne and Jack. Um, Again, there was question marks about Dwayne last year before he went out to Drift Masters. People were saying to me they didn't think his style of driving would work.
Yeah,
That's what was been said to me in 2018 when it was announced he was going to be driving in 2019.
I mean, if you want to talk about that for a second, I mean, from a driver's perspective, the way Dwayne drives is a lot of throttle input, full throttle, and then using the clutch as like his left foot brake method, I suppose. But again, people kind of forget that where the likes of Dwayne, Jack, Connor, James, Nigel Colfer, Kevin Quinn, like pretty much every single Irish driver who started in Ireland, is that we've come from a system that's line based, which if you think about it, in every single drift event around the world, if you can't complete the track layout to the line, well then angle and style is never going to be scored high.
Mm.
Reality, you should never, it's very difficult to get
It,
a
I,
high.
I think it comes back to the word precision. If you come up to a system that rewards precision, in other words, we are putting concrete walls in. We put concrete walls in events in Ireland, and people are able to put their car an inch from their
Yeah,
wall or
yeah,
scrape it. Right? If you can consistently do that, where it's not a rumble strip you're aiming for, it's a concrete wall, you learn to be precise very quickly.
yeah.
And you get rewarded for it. If the judges reward you for everything they say they will, then everybody will push to do that perfect run all the time. I think though, once you learn that precision, for once you can place a car anywhere on the track when it comes to qualifying. Equally though, in battles, that precision plays a part in there too, because first of all you're running that perfect line, but also I think when it comes to tandem to transitioning, precision is needed there too.
yeah, yeah.
And I think you've been practicing your precision in qualifying. I think over the years that precision probably plays a part in your ability to tandem as well. Um, so that's why okay, we had three Irish drivers in the top three of Drift Masters this year. Um, and you asked me why. Yes, there are amazing drivers. I do think precision is playing a big part in that.
Yeah, yeah. For Irish drivers at least, I mean, um, you look at the Russian Drift Series, you see a lot of great talent there. In previous years, they've had a similar system back here in Ireland where it's kind of line based. Uh, Again, they've just had a great support system, consistent, like you know, similar criteria throughout the years. Drivers were able to just develop themselves to the criteria. And the thing is, once you master one area in drifting, then being able to adapt yourself to other parts is easier. It's like learning and masterizing one car, and then you can easily kind of figure out other cars quickly. I suppose that's kind of the beauty for us sim drifters, is that because we jump between different many simulator cars, and when it gets to the real car, it takes us much less time to kind of adapt to it. We look at some of the drivers here. We've got Mitch Larner as well competing.
Yeah, like Mitch came to Ireland. He was over with us for 2 years. At the start, you could see he was wild, like a lot of the Australian drivers. Coming again from more style-based driving,
He was like a
and
kangaroo, yeah.
and he had to tame his driving a little bit, but he really did come on a lot. Like, and I'm not saying that it made a better driver of him, because maybe some people would prefer the big angle, the
Craziness,
big
yeah, yeah.
madness, and that's fine too, But I think in competition, for me, it has to be precision, right or wrong. That's just my take on
I
it.
suppose we can mention that that's the difference, I suppose, between a judge who didn't necessarily come from a drifting background, more of a motorsport background, and the judge that's actually a drifter, right?
I've always felt this because I've had low. I mean, God, I made a list many people have judged with over the years. And I mean, obviously, a big percentage of them would be drivers. And I can see they're influenced in what they prefer
Yeah.
in drifting. So, for example, if you were to go to a driver and ask his opinion, as a judge, I stopped asking opinions, and I tell you why. Um, if I was trying to write a rule for something and I turned around to a driver and I said, what do you think of this? Now, if it's a line driver who's really good on line, he'd be leaning onto a certain style of judging. He'd say, oh, well, that would be better. Like, if it was a big style driver, he would prefer not that. He'd prefer the big angle at this point. You know what I'm saying? So they will try and impose what they prefer. I mean, and that's understandable. You know what I mean? They would prefer to compete in
for
an
them to
environment
judge,
in what they prefer doing. Whereas I have no, I would have no opinion on which is better. I only look at it from an outside point of view, from a spectator's point of view, and my view would be what is likely to give us really close battles that people will want to come back and watch. That's the only thing I look at. I don't care about any of it. The rest of all that stuff, if backwards entry meant we'd have better battles and more people in watching, I would adopt that. But I've found that backwards entries actually mean that you have worse battle because the gap between the two drivers. The race driver will not risking diving in on the door because they think just in case the guy does a backy or something, So you just have to write rules to try and hone it down a little bit so that we can have competition.
It's just kind of the difference, really. I suppose because I suppose you can kind of see where the Formula D system kind of came in that sense because they only have drivers really that judge. You developed a series that you thought was better for drifting from the very start, and I think that's what you've kind of ended up with. Plus, I think the track layouts kind of forced you to kind of go that way. Would you say?
It would have influenced us definitely.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we were able to draw our own tracks when we came to car park events.
Yeah, you're able
to
be artistic.
The whole thing of clipping boxes, all that came from Ireland, from the early years.
A lot of the mainstream stuff that you see today has come from Ireland.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
There recently about the first top 32 in such a year, and I go, actually no, we did top 32 about 3 or 4 years earlier in Ireland.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And Graham McNamara was great for that. Graham was like up with all these kind of ideas.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of starting it really early in a country with the same team and using that same team to this very day. Because funnily, I mean, obviously, a lot of those team members have left the staff of the Irish series over the years as new people come in and took it over, and other people will let go and stuff like that. But like you'd see that a lot of people come into it and then they would be in the sport for a long time and they knew what their job was, and then eventually, someone would take over, and it doesn't matter, that person still knows what their job is and the background is still the same. The background was always the same. It was just maybe how that person changed the look of it for the better.
I think a lot of drift series have struggled in that scenario that way, because if you look at it from a judging perspective, right? If you get a judge and he comes in for a year or 2 years, right, and he's working away and developing the rules, and then there's a change, he gets fed up with it and he moves on, another guy comes in, another guy coming in, the lessons that were learned by the guy over the last 2 years are all gone. Start again.
Yeah,
you know
start from scratch.
So you're starting again, it keeps happening.
Making the same mistake over and over
Ireland,
again.
I started in...
You're not talking to the microphone.
Anyway, I started last century, and
16 years ago.
Yeah, and I stuck at it ever since. And like I said, we tried splitting up the track, and we tried sectors, and we tried all different types of things to try and figure out the best way to do it. But we were learning all the time.
Yeah.
We were learning, and we're going, oh God, that was a stupid idea. That didn't work. And the other thing is the rules were written one event by event. So we weren't, I won't say we were proactive at the time. We were reacting. We were reactive to anything that was happening. So, for instance, something would happen on the track, and I'm going to go, oh, how are we going to score that? You know what I mean? Because something new hadn't happened before. So a new rule will be written in, and then the next briefing, this has now been edited in to cover in case that happens again. And then after several years of this, you end up with a rule book that covers every scenario. And then when you get asked the question in the briefing, you have an answer.
Yeah.
Because you're confident, you've been there before, you've gone through it before, you've had lots of experience of all these things happening, and you end up with a really good rule book. And the briefings are hugely important because you have to give the drivers confidence in the judges. I've always said, if you show a little weakness, like a pack of wolves, they'll just pounce on you.
Yeah.
So you have to be very confident in your answers. You have to have it. That only comes with years and years of experience.
Yeah.
You get comfortable in your own skin, and you kind of have an answer for everything. And
You say that, but I know exactly what you mean, because my knowledge base would be considerably more than some other drivers, let's say, because of being around drifting for so many years, being in the judging stand for so many years, which has probably helped my driving a lot. Coming onto the when I started off, I kind of came on and I kind of knew 95% of what I needed to know
So
in my head
you
before putting
were
it in practice.
unique, to be honest, because you actually stood in the judging tower beside me from 2004 on.
Until I started 2014 or 15, yeah.
Yeah,
It's 10 years of it.
No. You were in the tower since when you were 8 years old. So
Yeah, and I started when I was 18,
yeah,
feeding. So that's 10 years of it.
yeah. No, you're when you were 8. How long ago is that? Doing math.
Yeah. No. Yes, I know, but I haven't been in the judging stand for 5 or 6 years.
He went. How long did he go to school for?
No, I've had 10. Hang on now.
Ignoring him.
Hang on now.
Even
I've
listening to him.
had 10 years of
Oh,
sitting
look,
in the judging stand
I
with
need to
you.
get a new bulb there, because that bulb has got on the lights up. Are you still talking? Okay, we're not fighting. Anyway, what were we saying? Right, okay, all I was saying is that you were in the judging tower from the age of 8, right? And you were soaking in, you were like a sponge at that age.
Yeah.
Soaking in what we were talking about, you were in the briefings. Over the years, you had a unique perspective of being inside the head of a judge for years and years. So you had a very, very good understanding. Like, I remember the year I spotted for you in the amateur championship. I wasn't judging, I was spotting, and I remember standing up in the ditch. The very first time you came down, I was getting ready, and I had my radio and all. I was going to say, okay, waiting for him now. So I was going to say, yeah, like, you left that clip too early. You just need to stay a little bit longer. And he comes on, he initiates, right, and he slides through the first clip, and he transitions, and there goes. Yeah, and that was really good. That was it. I suddenly realised there was nothing I could actually help him with, because he already understood the line exactly. So what I had in my head, exactly what he needed to do, he had that in his head as well, and was able to do it exactly. So when it comes down to going out there and doing a run and qualifying, he knows exactly what he needs to do. And I think James Dean has that. I've always noticed James, even in his very first run, he seems to nail the run. Because line is a big thing in Ireland. If you have a very good understanding of line, it's never forced. It just happens straight away. You know when to transition. You know what I'm saying. And I've seen other drivers. Brendan Stone was another one I noticed. Very, very good in line always. Straight away, first run, you could see straight away he knew the line. Whereas other guys have to work and have to practice and have to keep doing runs and runs to try and get the line right. They're trying to figure out the line. Whereas certain people, I think, they have the line in their head before they ever leave. They know exactly the line.
Yeah.
No, it's just maybe the way the brain works. I don't know.
Kyle Sweeney, do you think FD organisers have recognised Irish drifting before James Dean and Darren McNamara joined FD? That's a question for Darren, because he was over there for years before James attended. To my knowledge, I actually don't think they did prior to the deal with Ireland and FD, which was done.
I don't know if
a couple
they
years
even
ago.
recognise it today. They probably just recognise really good drivers coming over.
From Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did they kind of go, wow, there must be water over there? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I just go back up there because we've missed a couple now. Tanner, what do you think this means for the newcomers to the sport with the FIA and such? If the FIA involve newcomers, I still think you're going to need national championships like IDS, and that's where new drivers will start competing. And hopefully, if you have a good series in your country, and that has a structure where you can go from amateur to semi-pro to pro or whatever, new guys coming in and they can work their way up. there's no reason then why they can't be at the
Yeah.
top of their game in their country. They can go and compete in the FIA. And maybe some of these national championships will be FIA sanctioned, and that gives them an option to compete in other places. I don't know. Connor will be one to watch this year, I think. Jack on his day can beat anyone. And
I
second season on them cars should help a lot.
I personally think Jack Shannon is the best driver
Yeah, me
other than
too.
James Dean coming from Ireland right now. Like, that's just my opinion on it. I've beaten him, like, so that means I'm the best.
Yeah,
but-
well, you were lucky.
I was lucky. I had to be given the best car in the grid.
And I wasn't even judging.
No, you were judging.
Oh, I was.
It was drift,
That was
drift
the
games.
day before.
I don't even know what if it was Drift Games, Drift Masters. I keep getting confused between the two names. That's silly. Max Cotton, hey Max, how are you doing? Here in Ireland, the best place to drift. Can't wait to compete in IDS this year. Excited to have you over, Max. Hopefully, we get to see you drive. Hopefully, we get to drive.
Just go back to Connor for a second. Connor didn't have a good year last year.
True.
Quite a few problems. So hopefully Connor will hit the ground running this time
From the start, not have engine issues. Yeah.
And it would be good to see him in the mix because, we had Dwayne, we had James, Dwayne, and Jack and Dwayne at the top this year. I've no doubt that Connor is on his days as good as any of the three of them, and should really have been in that out as well.
Yeah.
It should have been.
I mean, you could argue that it should have been a four-way fight for the Irish to win the championship, I suppose.
You're discounting quite a lot of European drivers that are.
Yes, and that's this list here that we're kind of looking at here. Look, we've got Oliver Evans potentially joining us this year. Hang on, I'm trying to share this so that you can see the list there as well. I don't know, you can't see it there. Hang on, let me see if I can copy this to another tab so you can see it as well. But there's a lot of Drift Masters drivers this year that we can kind of look at. And
David Lamb's asking, is Gotcha doing it?
No, he's not.
Pity. Very exciting driver.
Please. But look, that's so that you can look at that. Oh, crap.
Holy moly.
There you go. Look at that science.
Right. Radner is driving a Corvette this year.
Corvette. We got a few more E92s.
In 2018, he broke his arm.
Who's this? Brander? Yeah. Got Michael Reichardt coming back again. Marco Zaccaril with the M2. That thing was stupid fast. You have Rinsley, XFD driver Axel Francois. That's pretty good, I think. That was.
Georgia.
There's a new driver, Nodo Kudua, Georgia as well. Vassia with an E9 CSL. Do you see that? Do you see renders of that?
Huh?
Jerome Vassia.
No, I didn't.
It's an old, like, the old E9 series BMWs, like super old. Like, I'll show you a picture later. Elihu Tanji and Johan,
yeah.
Hutanji, to be confirmed.
Two really nice guys, actually.
Both in TBC cars, so that must be very interesting. Heydrich is back. We got Badin Dimitrovic from Russia.
Fonten will be on a roll after all.
Yes.
I mean, he was amazing over there. So
I think
he's going to have a lot of confidence going in. So he'll be one to watch this year, I think.
You got Remo, Norbert Zamerich, who we had last year. You've Jack, Connor, Kevin, Dwayne, James. Who cares about them? Vacuum Manuel. He was supposed to do Formula D last year. I don't think he did one event, I think. You've got Ahmed Daham.
Daham is running the new Lexus. They're building it at the moment. He's struggling, man, with the other old car, but of course, that car was like
1,600 kilos,
wasn't it? A small tanker.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So slow to transition and everything.
It was ridiculous. But in fairness, though, like that car was supposed like a bit of a development, so we'd be kind of hoping that this new car out of the box.
The new car is going to be much lighter. It's
allegedly
proper
carbon Kevlar and all the gear.
And he's actually a really good driver, and I don't think he's had his chance to shine really in Drift Masters yet. So
he did take down Connor, remember, in Turin a couple of years ago when you judged But that was kind of messy though because there was a contact. I think Connor went into the wall. Maybe I'm not really sure. I can't remember. Christian Burkovs. You've judged him, I think, before BMW M4. He
Yeah.
used to drive an E36. You got Vasiliauskas. You got Shirba. Two familiar names. Haskasap from North Cyprus. Great driver. You've got George Wargard. Maybe.
Tar and Kavia is going to be up there.
Yes, I think Tar as well.
Very, very
Well up
experienced
there.
driver. Very good line driver as well, actually.
Arjun Nielsen, another great driver. I've seen him over the years in Norway.
Hipke is another Polish driver. Didn't really have and Romaneski. Both of those didn't have a good year last year. Again, could be guys, but they had a poor year last year. That's not to say that they could have had a really good year the year before, so bounce back.
So who else? Okay, so we look at the Polish guys. Zawecki, yeah.
Very good job.
Karpolinski, another great guy. Who else? Barkowski's back with the S14. Again, I think he's a little bit inconsistent. I think that if he was able to like clean up his act a small bit, he'd be like ridiculous, right? If he was able to contain his aggression. Karkausik again in the 370Z, so that's gonna be interesting. I'll be keen to see that. You got Starlowski, long timer, been around for a long time. You got Kieran back in an S13. It's kind of interesting, right? You see Hipke and the likes of Kieran, both E30 nerds, now in S chassis. That's kind of interesting. Got Pontus Hartmann. Did we see him drive last year, or I think he did one event in Ireland? Is that the guy that did Ireland? I can't remember. Got the Jones brothers who Pontus just brought up with the Drift Masters. Sweden.
They don't know how they will adapt to Drift Master. So where were they competing?
Sweden. So Gatwick Drift Series, I assume. So that would have been a couple of round championship in Sweden and Norway and stuff. Erlandesim, Bagsy, Martin Richards, Oliver Evans will be interesting to see. Apparently a new car. Iluk and Miller, both from Ukraine. So
obviously Martin Richards, we need to say no. Very good driver from the UK. Bagsy, obviously another good driver from the UK. Oliver Evans. There's 3 strong UK drivers there.
Yeah, very, very strong. Obviously, we won't see Matt this year. I'm not sure the reasons why exactly, but look, competing in Europe is not cheap.
No.
I'm pretty sure if it was cheap, I would try and do it, but I don't even want to look into the figures of it right now. Anyway.
Wait a second.
Oh, there was there.
Look at the comments.
Oh, oops, that was the wrong
Aaron
one.
said in.
Oh, you want to see that? Yeah, yeah. Hang on.
Just go up above that and see what.
We can't scroll up though. Show me the mouse. Can I?
Step away from the mouse, is it?
Step away from those. No, we can kind of read it a small bit. So, okay, we're going back up here a good bit. It's probably about 10 minutes ago. Darren,
just come down. We got to there. Max Cotton. Hi Max, how are you? You're coming to Ireland next year, I hear, or this year, I should say. Hopefully, anyway. We might have to.
We've answered this one already with Kyle. Darren just mentioned in FD. Always wanted retired drivers like Mill and Faust Subanet to be brought back as judges. That's very interesting. Who needs drifting when you have a mat competition? Barbara Tracy says hello.
Hi, Babs.
Is she still watching? This was about 10 minutes ago, mind you. So, Darren.
Well, obviously, we'd be so interesting to listen that she wouldn't have entered.
Oh, of course, we are the gods.
Yeah,
clearly. Darren mentions when I went to Irwindale, they first thought I was a Mexican.
He does have that kind of a look. If he had those little moustache, he'd be perfect, you know.
He did grow a beard at one point, didn't he, or some sort of stubble?
More like a rash than a beard, to be honest.
Max Cotton can't wait to see Oliver Evans and Drift Masters. That should be very good, actually. Depends on what his car is going to be like, but I think, by the looks of it, it's going to be a beast. He teased the sequential and its new chassis. He's going to have 2 of them now. Lucky bugger. Pontus Tarnikavia is going to be one to look up for 2020. He looked good in 2019.
Yeah, Tar Arnie's very, very good.
I think he's a talent that is unrecognized just yet. But you know what I'm saying? Like he's there. He just needs to he's had a podium spot already a couple of years ago.
Actually, if you looked at him in Mandello,
2 years ago, the first year of Drift
2 years
Masters,
ago. Yeah. I tend to I tend to compare drivers to Irish drivers.
Okay,
Maybe because
that's what your kind of benchmark
yeah,
is. Yeah,
that's what I think is a good run, and Tarani was
very close, I suppose.
right there.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was right there. I mean, I think look
Qualified
at
second, did he?
qualifying. So he was qualified well up anyway. So like if the ingredients to a great driver is the way the Irish drive. I'm not saying it is, but I mean when it comes to qualifying
See,
stuff,
you see, this is it's kind of hard to express this, in my opinion. Like when I'm trying to explain to people, like it can't be what we drink or eat. It has to be the way you're developed as a driver. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like James could be the best driver regardless where he started off in the world, but I think you need to be given the right direction to the path. Like there's the right way to do everything, and I think to learn the right way. To put it this way, Project Academy, my main partner, look, they're right there beside us. Their mentality when it comes to teaching people to become professional drifters is using the line as their main strategy. Because it is so black and white, it's easier for people to understand it and to pick it up much quicker that way. And in the end, once they finish the levels, they end up qualifying first in any competition to go to. It's ridiculous. So I think there is a reasoning why Irish drivers are so good. And I simply think it's because the criteria that you developed, right? Whether it's potluck, which kind of, in a sense, kind of was, but it's what you felt worked at the time has developed drivers like that to develop so well. And it kind of backtracks too to like the likes of Asbo and stuff, because Asbo kind of drove with your line-based system for a few years back in 2008. Um, Not saying that's why he's as good as he is now, but I think
oh,
he just had the ability to be able to adapt, and especially coming from Europe, we seem to have something special anyway.
look, nobody really knows, I suppose, what's the magic ingredient. Um, Look, okay, you can benchmark everybody off of James, maybe. Uh, what what makes James so special? You know,
I think it's
um,
his stunning good looks and height.
his height. You know, it could
Yeah,
be to
yeah.
do with the air's a lot thinner up
Yeah,
there.
maybe
Maybe
he just
it's
takes less oxygen. He's able to
yeah.
concentrate
I
much
mean, I
harder.
think Ayrton Senna used to hold his breath for a full
For
lap
full
to
lap, yeah,
heighten his
yeah, heard
senses.
that
So
as well.
maybe James is suffering from oxygen
Maybe he's able to concentrate more. But
deprived
then
of
that doesn't
oxygen.
explain the nerves he gets. He claims he gets a lot of nerves. It's true. Nah.
Um, but maybe if he gets nervous by the time he gets down to his feet, it's
Yeah.
yeah, like a delay
Maybe the
there.
nerves work their way up, and it takes so long to go up through the body that by the
Well,
time it
see,
gets to the
look,
head.
Barbara is still listening.
Yeah, Barbara is still listening.
Yeah,
So
that
we'll just run through
interesting.
the comments quickly. Seb was unreal in Oh Man, he was indeed. If I got the opportunity to drive in hyperdrive, would I do it? Well, I worded that so badly. Would I compete in hyperdrive if I got the offer? I would love to do it. I think if there was any event we do this year, if I had the choice between hyperdrive or IDS, I'd probably go to hyperdrive realistically and destroy the S14 there. Why not? Um, no, not destroy it. Okay, we'll reward that later. Junsu brothers are also really good drivers. Don't know how they will adapt to the MEC. Oh yes, we mentioned that already. Um, Thoughts on tires? New 285 Trias 140 made for Drift Masters. This is the tire war. I think we just have to accept it. That's going to be nuts.
What's this?
This is Darren. He mentioned the thoughts on tires. New 285 Trias 140 treadwear made for Drift Masters. Look, I think every tire manufacturer have the ability to do whatever they want. Falcon had the opportunity for many years, and they're still using the same stuff they're using now, right? But it's going to be interesting. I could see a big regulation on tires coming very soon
Yeah,
in the next year or so.
FIA.
Would probably do that, yeah.
Yeah, that article I did on tire smoke. The FIA apparently have latched onto it. I was told by one of the judges who were involved in the working group. Apparently, the FIA have jumped on this. I My problem with the smoke is very, very simple actually.
Yes, but let's kind of give a bit of context to this because tire smoke obviously is getting a lot
It
more, and it was pretty
was
prominent in Punchestown.
Punchestown last year. Yeah, like when you're judging something that you can't see, it was very hard to judge it. That's
Yeah,
basically what we were faced with. The smoke was getting so bad that, um, like in Oman, I was requesting the cameras be 8 to 10 meters high on the on the hoists. Basically because it's getting to the point where your cameras are low, you can't see the second car because of the smoke when generated by the first car. And it's the same for a judge from a certain degree, when the cars pass you, smoke is so bad that you can't see the chase car anymore, or you can't see the lead car either. By putting cameras really high, they're looking down on top of the car, which gives you view of it. You know that the smoke can't block
Yeah.
out. You can still see the roofs of the car effectively. But like when drifting gets to the point where you've got so much smoke that you can no longer see, then you can no longer judge. It's as simple as that. Um,
It was me.
and um, and that was if we didn't have cameras and replay screens. The thing was, the smoke was so bad, right? Because there was no smoke, there was no wind there to take the smoke away, so it was just hanging in the air. The smoke was so bad that when the cars used to pass us, right, we had a monitor above our heads. By the time the cars got to the last section, smoke had come into the judging tower, and we couldn't even see the monitor because the smoke was between us
Yeah.
and the monitor. That's how bad the smoke was. And when you kind of get into that stage, it becomes a joke really, because now you'll be better off with telemetry and with proximity sensors and all that kind of stuff to measure it, because nobody can see. But from a spectator point of view, if you can't see the cars, what's the whole point? And it was the first time when I really thought, the smoke has become a really big issue. And I like a bit of smoke. It's exciting when there's a plume of smoke out of a car, but there has to be a limit to the smoke being generated, I think. I mean, after the event, I went around with the audio and all cables and stuff. One of the barriers I was looking, there was literally nearly 3 to 4 inches of rubber deep left up against the wall. It was unbelievable the amount of rubber that had ripped off those. I know the surface and was a bit unusual that way too.
From a driver's perspective, it was very weird actually, because the tires were completely overheating. I could actually tell when the tire grip had completely, was gone. I don't know if it was just the tires at the time I was using were just maybe bad batch or something. But it felt like that. By the second lap, I had to really work to make sure the car had consistent grip. Of course, my car is very basic. There is nothing special. There is not a lot of mechanical grip to rely on tire and stuff to make it fast. But that event was ridiculous. Like, tire smoke was crazy. We have a comment there from Mr. and Mr. Mir Yang. Oh my, Mr. Yang Billy. Sorry. Even for spectators, the smoke is too much. You can't see half the event. I watched some NZ Drift series from an enclosed stadium, and you could barely see what was going on. Not much fun.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And you also have to understand you've got families coming in there. And we'll go back to what I had said earlier about trying to attract the general public into watch events. You're trying to attract mothers and fathers and grandfathers and God only knows, and kids, like, and if parents won't stop bringing their kids to the events because the smoke's too bad, that's not really very productive. Counterproductive to drifting. It's not going to enhance its reputation. So, what's the answer? The answer is I don't know. Going back to what Alan or Graham or Darren had said there about the 285s. The issue here is the softer you make the tires. Okay, we're talking 140 tread wear. It doesn't matter about the width really. Once the softer you make the tires, it's not that they generate more smoke, but the more power you need to run. So the power keeps going up, and the tires have to get softer so they can put the power down. And the more power you have, the faster you can spin those wheels, the more smoke you generate. So there's no answer to this unless you start limiting power, which is not the answer. Personally, my own opinion on it would be to limit the number of tires you can run per event.
Okay.
So I had thought about this. I thought, right, okay, if for instance, let's just say every competitor is allowed 10 tires per plus part warns that you've had from the last event to run in practice and stuff. Okay, so you've 10 tires to run the event. That means you'd have to do 4 runs per pair of tires. And straight away, if you have 900 horsepower and you rip the tires clean off it in the first few runs, you know what I mean?
Which you're going to likely do with a 140 treadwear because they're super soft. You need the power to spin them in the first place.
So what do?
Yeah.
You have to use strategy then. You have to start thinking about it, saving your tires for the finals.
And the thing is, this is something that's super common in all motorsports around the world. Like, you look at Formula One or something. I think in Formula One, I mean, you watch a lot of Formula One, but they need to use, is it one compound at least?
In Formula One, yeah,
You have a certain number of compounds, isn't it?
they
And
have three compounds: soft, medium, and hard, or whatever the way they.
yeah, super soft and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they have
And
to use, is
they
it
have to
certain
they have
number?
to use
They've only
two of the
limited.
compounds during the event. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And you have the same with rallycross. And rallycross, they have certain number of tires, and they need to use all of those throughout the whole event. And you'd even see at some points certain drivers, maybe for semi-finals or something, using brand new tires on the left side, and on the right side using used tires. Um, um, for tire strategy and stuff. And that would work out brilliantly in drifting. People might have 900 or 1,000 horsepower, and they might find out that, look, I'm only getting 2 laps per set of tires. I'm only going to get as far as the top 8 before. Well, actually, I'm now have to drive on tires that are used. And if you're going through a set of tires and you can only get 1 lap out of them, well, then that's kind of pointless. So I could see it being a great way
Well,
to
it would,
limit.
and maybe it would put a halt on softer and softer compounds because there's no point having a tire so soft that it's not going to last you 4 runs. So you'd have to. It also would put a brake maybe on horsepower as well, because again, there's no point in having 800 or 900 horsepower if you're on half throttle all the time because put tires off it otherwise. I just think maybe to me it's the only logical thing to do, and maybe somebody else has a better answer for it. But I don't think we can continue going the way we're going. We can't allow softer and softer compounds and bigger horsepower because it will mean that drifting will stop in some. We had issues in Mondello a couple of years, and Mondello were under pressure to allow drifting in last year. I think it was because of the year before. Driftmasters 2 years ago generating so much smoke that there was actually a local GA
Oh
match
yeah,
was
the
hurling or
local, yeah.
football or something was on across the road from the track, and they had to call off the match halfway through because the smoke got so bad no one could see the football.
Yeah.
So, like, well, you don't mess with the GA in Ireland. I mean,
No, no, you're
you'll
fighting
be
with
found
fire.
buried in a bog somewhere. Like, you don't mess with the GA. That's government put all their money into and support, and uh, it would be a very quick way to get sport cancelled in this country. So
So, so Darren mentions there, if you limit tires per event, you could end up with a fantastic close event with many one more times, but semi and final decided by retirements due to lack of tires, which would be terrible for the show. A difficult one. I think that's at the end of the day, I think the mindset of it is right. Obviously, with one more times and stuff, you'd have to come up with a unique way, I suppose, to determine that. Like, I think even 10 tires for the whole event is maybe a bit little. Like, maybe you could leave the tire wear for practice open and let them decide that if they use 2 laps for a set of tires and bring as many as they want.
mm.
But from top 32 on, that's it. That's your lot of tires. That's all you need.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all you can
I
use.
think it would be you would be trying to save your tires for the final top
Yeah.
four.
In reality, you'd want to get your tires to last 6 laps.
Yeah.
If you get your tires to last 6 laps, I think you'd be golden. Now, of course, it depends on the type of brand. Some
Uh,
brands, but look, that's not the organizer's problem with that sense. But it is something worth looking into. If something like that was to be involved, it would be looking at the whole one more time
we'd have to
situation.
have marked tires and all this kind of stuff to
Yeah,
monitor
there's
it.
a,
And
there's a lot
there's a
of.
lot of it. I mean, I look at their David Lamses have a capitator. Um, 800 horsepower can generate a lot of smoke. So
Oh, but it's not even that. But how do you like manage that?
I know
You're gonna have to start
that's
putting
the next
restrictors on
issue.
cars
Like,
and
yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
I think we should just leave
are
the
you going
whole
to have
engine
a
thing open.
dyno at each event?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
And which dino is it? Is it the one from kind of from the east or is it the one from down south? An inside joke there. Um, it's definitely an interesting topic.
Ed wants to know what's my view on smoking cigarettes.
We never like them.
Ah, no, not
Smoking cigarettes.
smoking tires is bad enough.
Yeah, yeah, we're
I mean,
taking in
I've had
enough
14
tar.
years of smoking tire smoke. My lungs, I probably got miner's lungs in the state.
All
Coal
right.
miner's lungs.
Yeah, yeah. It would
My
be
ears
amazing.
actually. I'm going deaf as well. I think.
You're going
There's
deaf.
a lot of loud
Yeah, all the
bloody
anti-lag and
BMWs.
stuff.
Oh,
All the BMWs. Oh, that's the problem.
covered trees.
I was going to say the anti-lag, but definitely the problems. And traffic
Oh.
disease coming up soon.
Mm.
It would be amazing for drivers that can't realistically make top positions. They can strategically spend their tires in early runs and potentially upset people who are saving for finals. That's very true. It's something actually when you think about it, it would add a huge strategy to the event.
And actually, it would level the playing field a lot because guys with big horsepower would be trying to save tires, so maybe they wouldn't be pedaling their cars quite as hard. And guys with lower
Yeah,
horsepower would be able to push like mad, and potentially change tires after 2 runs because you know what I mean. They would be able to save tires that like literally lower horsepower car might be able to get 6 or 8 runs on a pair of tires, so they'd actually have the option of swapping tires for battles and that. There could be a lot. It'll definitely be affected.
I think in my opinion, I would not be surprised if worst case scenario, I wouldn't say this year being cancelled,
I
but
think
being highly restricted number
I
of events
think our events might start from maybe June or July. I think we'll
at
the best
best
case.
case.
So
Worst case, it might not
we
happen
might
at
be able
all.
to squeeze a few events in at the end of the year, but I think the first half
First
of the
round,
year,
yeah,
first
yes.
half of the year is a write off.
Well, like the first round is next month,
Yeah, and
and
the
then it's a
second round
month
is
break, and then it's second round's
June.
in
I think
June. Yeah,
June. Yeah, I worried for June.
worried even for June. So the first two events
And
might be
like I've
cancelled.
said, you wouldn't be able to run an event behind closed doors. It's financially impossible. The cost of putting on an event, you have to have spectators, which is
Yeah.
what Irish drifting was always built on. It was about spectators because they needed the money coming in. So in Ireland, to run an event, the drivers would have to fund it. The cost of funding it by the drivers would be.
Would it not take away from the show? People wouldn't be pushing as hard. Actually, I disagree with that because I think people will be pushing as hard. It just won't be as stylish as before. Like a lot of people like full throttle everywhere. Uh, it could take away from people not pushing as hard. Look, at the end of the day, if they want to win the battle, they have to run the door. And to run the door, you don't need a lot of tire smoke in the first place, or a lot of tire. You just need a lot of speed. Well, you need a lot of tire, but you don't need a lot of tire smoke. So uh,
Uh,
I think you'll still get close battles. I just think it means people will be smarter in how their tire manage.
the thing is, like, the bigger question here is, will drifting survive if smoke keeps getting worse or not? And
Yeah, you have to make a compromise,
I,
realistically. Yeah,
I think the future, like some environmentalist brigade came in, um, we literally could be in trouble.
yeah,
Health and
yeah.
safety
We,
got
we, we actually
involved.
don't know.
You know,
Yeah, we don't know what's in the rubber. Like,
don't know what kind of can of worms you could be open there. So it might come to a point if we want the sport to continue to grow, we may have to look at it. And it's a bit like noise too, we are already, the UK have huge problems with noise restrictions. We've been pretty lucky in Ireland, even though we have lost a few events over noise, but we've been lucky enough. UK have big problems. I guarantee you, Matt has big issues with sound problems over there. It existed when I was involved in drifting over there, and you have all the guys at the BMW. Everybody else
yeah,
are
yeah.
great.
Anyone
The
be
Japanese cars, of
In
course, just
fairness,
stuck to BMWs.
in fairness though, the UK guys are
Like
great
Dean
with
Martin.
sound. No, Dean Martin's car sounds great. It's
If
it's.
I just wanted to have a go off him.
I
All
was
right,
trying to be
Dean.
nice.
He hit me with a headrest. To be fair, no. Oh no, I hit him with a headrest. Okay, it's fine. No, I also push his knees through the.
Uh,
Anyway, forget it. We're getting.
okay,
sidetracked.
we're getting sidetracked. Would it not? Do you think FIA involvement would put pressure on drifting to get more green eventually, or other FIA series are going this way?
Which is what?
I'm not going to say that word. This is
Yay.
no.
It's yay.
Yay!
Or
Yay!
we'll spell it backwards. Yag.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
I
yag.
think. I think. I probably will, to be honest. But it's going to go that way anyway, Darren. I think. Either drifting will stop, or else we'll have to go green. But But look, this whole green thing, climate change stuff is
Well,
is very
if
like
drifting goes electric,
is.
well, I'm gone anyway. I just couldn't watch it.
Can you talk to the microphone? No one can hear you.
I'm looking at the ceiling when I'm doing it. Okay, no, electric is just stupid. Okay, stupid.
Look, I like electric cars. I think they're class. They're fun. Don't think. Look, the whole topic is completely different discussion. I think,
Let's
right?
be honest. Be honest. Anything with an engine, I don't care. Lawnmowers, I would race anything if I thought I could. Okay, but electric, look, electric for RC cars, lads, and it's for
And you raced RC cars for a long time, so your point is invalid because you raced RC cars. Therefore, you race
it's for
electric.
mobility scooters. Okay, it's for taking forklifts, not for drifting. Okay,
Not for drifting, right? Okay. Stupid coronavirus. I know Barbara is stupid altogether. What do you think of Kinder only putting one stick in the Kinder Bueno instead of two? Will it increase the risk of Kieran launching across the kitchen at the siblings, causing anger in the household? Or would you just try buy twice as many and get a grip? Well, that's funny you mentioned it. We've got two Kinder Buenos here. Would you like
mine?
one?
See, there'll be no fighting when it's just two.
And there's two in each one of them.
Wait, is yours bigger than mine? And why is yours? I'm taking this one. You can have that.
Okay, I think they're the same size to be honest. Then.
Where are we now?
Hello, Papa Hines and Alan. Hey, Macaulay, how are you doing? Good, good.
The Roddy.
And a lot of Leo Roddy. I assume that's something to do with it.
Something.
See, we're reading comments that they're responding to what we're talking about, so we can't remember the context.
What recorded Lee Roddy? Oh, the GA probably with the hurling match.
Oh, maybe so. What's your thoughts on no live stream this year? You kind of briefly touched on this earlier, didn't you? What's your thoughts on no live stream?
I can tell you one thing about live stream and having replays. It makes you very lazy as a judge because you can watch your run, but you have a backup if you miss something. Whereas the old days you just couldn't even blink.
You couldn't miss. Yeah.
So we'll have to go back to not blinking.
It's gonna be harder for you guys.
It's a lot tougher. On the plus side though, nobody can question your calls because no one has the live stream replay, except people in the grandstand with a camera or something. But anyway,
even then, you wouldn't care less about that stuff.
I mean, it's an awful lot harder. It's way easier having the replays. You are obviously going to make much better calls when you have replays because you can see more. Because it comes back to what I said in briefings. I say it's not what actually happened on the track, it's what appears to have happened from where we are sitting. So wherever we are sitting, we score a run. If there's a corner where we can't see a clipping point or we don't have a good view for it and someone drops a wheel there, we can't see it, we can't score it. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Thank you, Miyamoto, for the host. 24 viewers. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. That's Raymond is another drifter on Twitch. I'm not even drifting right now. I could be drifting, I suppose, but thank you very much. What's that?
You're too busy talking. Alan, your mum wants to do a swap cash my mother's way for me as her son instead of you. Declan, I'd be happy enough with that too. He's got this sad face on him. Look.
That's not very nice. We're just reading through all the comments here.
The last time I saw that face, he had a little tear in his eye because he wanted one car in each hand and he was not allowed to buy two cars.
Oh, Dad, stop.
In Tesco.
Where are we going? I would watch electric drifting. YAG is okay to me. Plastic wheel covers and electric cars. That sounds a lot of fun, to be honest. Knew you had Kinder Buenos in the area. You shower of animals.
Well, we did. Where other people were stocking up on toilet rolls and water and God knows what else, we were stocking up on chocolate.
Chocolate.
Unfortunately, we're day 4 into isolation and we've nearly eaten all the chocolate. So
we'll have to go for unisolation. What else we have? We got Jack with let's see your dad do some skids. Did you do some skids?
And what on that?
Yeah.
I've never even tried it. It would be fun, all right.
We'll give him some practice on the same, and we'll bring him on some other time.
Next week maybe.
Let's see. Hey Drift Maniac, how's things? So nice to hear fellow Irish accents.
So where's Drift Maniac from?
I don't know. I assume he's from Ireland.
Well, it sounds like he's abroad though.
Nice to hear, fellow Irish.
Limerick.
No.
Yes, like that's another whole county away. That's a long way away.
Yeah, that's a long. Oh man, it's just only over the border. Then yes, we need to see this. They want to see
See
you
the
drive
guys
it.
in Limerick, they've got an accent. We don't have an accent.
No, no, we're
I don't-
very
you sound-
Americanized.
I noticed. I don't detect any accent off of you. How about me? Do you detect an accent off of
No,
me?
it sounds like you're American to me.
Oh, that's an
No,
accent.
that's exaggeration.
Then you need to.
Go out and get a black roll of electrical tape when you go. Okay, go out. Go out and get a black roll of electrical tape. Kieran, I mean Dad, right? Okay. Oh, that's too funny. Declan, you're fired. For those who've just joined us from the hosted stream, I do apologize, but I am multi-streaming right now, so we're reading comments from Facebook and YouTube also. Oh man, that's funny. It's good.
Declan needs to take a tablet or something. He's not well.
Has to be live though, Alan.
Carlo, isn't it? He's suffering from Carlo.
Yeah, it's the
He's got
Carlo
a
coming
dose of
through.
Carlo, I'd say. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Would you not? Oh god, funny. Why are they all
I
just...
do have black insulating. Actually.
You've no insulation tape.
I have black tape as well. Answer this. There won't be a whole lot really, because it's going to be sitting inside here looking at the screen for the rest of the year.
I think so, yeah. Unfortunately, I have accepted the worst, to be quite honest. If I don't,
for the best.
But we hope for the best. Like the thing is, when it comes to it, like the car is coming back next month. It's completely destroyed. Like it needs a rebuild from the bottom up. It's like, yeah, I just rather do it right.
At the same time, if round one is going ahead and the car arrives
We're just gonna
3
drive
days
it,
before the round one, he'll be there.
Yeah, I will be there because I'll be bored otherwise. I have too much university stuff to go through.
No, like the car rolls out of the container.
It's ready to go.
It was ready to go. It was running perfectly when it was put in there.
Just doesn't have a front bumper.
Unless someone's been doing donuts in it since
Yeah, exactly.
On its way. I don't know, but
Declan says it's the air up here, lads. Was a way up higher up in the country.
yeah, it is uphill to get up to you. All right, yeah. You're like mountain people up there, actually. Mountain.
Papa Hynes, do some SimSkids tonight. He won't. He said he won't. I'm not letting him. He's not ready.
Can't reach the pedals.
Can't reach the pedals. Yeah, I'm really lanky. I don't know what cars to drive, guys.
You're
I'm sorry.
It's only your legs are lanky. The rest of you is normal.
That's true, to be honest. Oh, we could join DCGP. I don't really want DCGP though. What's going on here? What else do we have? I could do VDC. Will I show you the new layout for VDC, lad? You haven't seen it yet. We'll give your 2 cents on it. Because when it comes to layouts, you have opinions.
Darren says you release the coronavirus, so the drift season will be delayed. Would have your car back home. Well, actually, Darren, no, the car is already on the sea and it's on its way. It's not like your car spent a month in Oman.
We have lots of around here. He's trying to import illegal spiders. Bad job. Okay, whoa. We've missed a few. Come on, drive Rua Puna. I'm on the way. Don't worry, Pontus. To be fair, if I was a driver, I'd kind of be glad about events being postponed. Gives more time to get cars ready and help financially. I think financially this year we're going to all be fucked. I think we're not going to be great by the end of this year.
Dean Martin.
Well, he spelled Kieran wrong, so I mean,
Yeah,
who is
obviously
Kieran?
not talking about me anyway. Who's Kieran? Kieran.
As regard DCP, my daddy wasn't the judge, so my car got delayed. Darren, you're a prick. I mean, it would be an awful pity if Darren's very, very expensive S13 was not to be able to get used this year, you know? Wasn't be able to be.
Not zoom out
full camera so you can see all the pedals. I can't actually zoom out. I don't know why.
You could move the camera.
I know I actually
Near and far,
can't,
it works that way.
but I can't. My foot, you can kind of see it. I mean, most people just want to see the foot action or like the heel toe, like all the pedals around.
Basically, you can only see when your foot's on the brake, handy.
Yeah, do you not think that's good? No.
Yeah, you only want to show off left foot braking.
To be fair, my left foot braking isn't its best. It's like it's insane. Oh no, I don't have sequential shifter enabled. Okay, I'm gonna have to cancel this. Give me 1 second. No.
Alan, Dean Martin, he's obviously listening. Did you understand anything he said? Okay, he spent how many days with us, and actually, it was like.
Well, he just explained himself.
His
He
mouth
says,
was moving, and I could hear noise, but I was looking for subtitles underneath, but they didn't appear anywhere.
okay. Well, he just kind of explained himself there. He's just said he's from RD and he can't spell, but I'm half Middle East now, so I have an excuse.
I'm from RD. I can't spell, but I'm half Middle now, so I've. How's your knees, Dean? Going to be a push my car. It was going to be a push to get my car ready for the start of a few Macs. I think you'll enjoy it over here. Hopefully, if we can get events running.
I assume he's doing BDC as well. Maybe that's why they're kind of pushed to try and get it ready.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 second, folks. I just need to swap my shifter around. So, okay, let's realistically, right? If it's not until June that it's starting, do you think a lot of series are just going to start round one then, or do you think they're just going to? Because
well, I suppose if you look at IDS,
because you've run a championship before, right? So if you were to run the championship again and you were in the position of Eddie and you were in the position of Matt and all the other guys.
Well, the only good thing here, right, to say, okay, is because it's not just drifting that's been cancelled, all motorsport. So a lot of events that were planned are not going to happen this year, or might try to be rescheduled, maybe. But say if you look at Ireland, there will be a good chance of being able to get other slots, I think.
True,
because
that's very true.
If you look at Mondello, right, or Grass Hill, if you look at Mondello especially, a lot of the reason you can't get dates off of them is corporate dates.
Yeah, a lot of business stuff.
And of course there'll be motorbikes and other stuff as well, but a lot of that stuff, like corporate stuff, that's all going to be dead for all next year now. It's corporate corporations, big companies, they're all suffering at the moment as well, so they won't have the money to be spending on corporate days out,
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that stuff's going to get cancelled, so Mondello might have lots of free dates. So there would be a chance, of, say, of being able to reschedule. So you might still get 4 rounds in, maybe.
I suppose it all comes down to the current crisis, how long it lasts. Like if this whole virus thing is gone next week, which in reality it's not going to, I think we haven't even seen the worst of it yet, unfortunately. I think it could be a long time before we're back to where we were last year, like in terms of high tier drift competition, door banging stuff. So
Dean is threatening me with a lawsuit over his knees.
I don't know who he is. Have you heard of him? Have you heard of Dean?
I know who he is, alright.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even have my racing gloves on. Gamer gloves.
I thought he wanted me to move the seat forward when he pulled the lever.
What? Oh, when you were letting him out of the car.
That was completely accidental that I drove your knees through the dashboard. Totally accident. Yeah. Oh,
big understeer. Oh, crap.
Kidding. Oh, he's kidding. And he's getting the wrong way.
Terrible driving, what the hell?
So this is the layout sheet.
Oh, bad driving, bad driving.
Inside clip there, Alan.
Oh, I just got moulded. Punted into the wall.
Have a look at this intrigue.
Talking into the microphone?
I might be.
You might not be either.
I might be. I just wanted to see the entry again.
Horn check.
What do we got?
Limiter check.
Best job to be in Curdley is delivery business. Business is booming. Well, I assume it is in other companies, but at one of my depots, there are pallets and pallets of foreign bog roll. I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand why people are buying. I don't know. Makes no sense to me now. The good thing about races.
We got James Dean now leading us.
Racing Point are not going to get value out of buying Astra Mercedes. They might get a few rounds in yet at the end of the year, because it does go quite late in the season. So, as well as that, it's very possible that the Corona the whole Corona scenario is going to be done and dusted. The Middle East, or not Middle East, Far or Asia and stuff, you know. Overseas, it's the European Championship or the European rounds are going to be in trouble, all right. But like Abu Dhabi, Brazil, those rounds might be okay. It might be done and dusted by the time season comes. Horn check. The man said horn check at him. Limiter check. This is a Middle East joke that I've done a few months ago. I think Papa Dean judge some virtual comps. Also, only say Papa Hynes. Papa Hynes, I should. Also, only say I've been saying Papa Dean all my life.
Yeah, you call Papa Hynes.
Papa Hynes should judge some virtual comps. Also, only say Papa Hynes because I can't spell Kieran. He spelled it, or however it's spelled. Brake check. Moment 2021. Definitely, Dean. Definitely, we'll have to do it again. You'll get your chance to drive my knees through the dashboard.
The 370Z as well, which is like no overhang.
Oh yeah.
Moment 2021? Yeah, we'll try. We'll see. See what this Corona drink is doing, or whatever. Right. Okay.
Might have to sell the drift car halfway through the year to buy food. For the family.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, Smith, would you judge some virtual comps? I've never done it. I have judged RC events, RC drifting.
What the hell?
I don't know. I watched the events, alright, the virtual stuff.
Oh, I went in heavy.
I suppose the view of the view as a judge of the runs would be interesting to me, alright, to see. And it's better for me not to be judging when Alan's doing it. I can relax.
I mean, to be fair, like it's kind of a great thing to kind of get into. It's on the rise. The whole virtual thing, like.
I think it's a great idea because it's a proven platform. A lot of people ask me about it, you know, about getting simulators and stuff, and I reckon myself that I know it's totally different insofar as you can't feel up to your arse basically. You don't have the feel of the car to your arse, so you're missing that. But you overcome it, I'm sure, with practice. Practicing the runs, you overcome that side of it. But I just think, especially with line-based drifting, you can practice line brilliantly, like, because when drivers arrive to an event and they have limited practice time, you only get maybe 6 or 8 laps if you're lucky. If you've already on the simulator practiced the line and you already know basically where you're transitioning, you know, straight away then you arrive at the event, you've shortcutted that part of the practice. You know, you don't have to learn the line through the course. You know, practice on the other angle transition when you're on throttle and stuff like that. You know, you just saved yourself a load of time, and I think it really does work, and I think it's proven. And more people are buying simulators now and getting involved in the virtual drifting stuff.
Massive rise. That comment, can't wait for the day to come when I be able to afford my drift car. Awesome. Hopefully someday soon. Make sure you talk into the microphone that no one can hear you.
Yeah, I'm falling asleep. That's why. Just sim drifting is also good to get the audience engaged in a sport that is otherwise not very accessible to people outside. Yeah, that's true. And I think you know, we look at the guys in the sim racing who are very good and don't actually compete. It'd be really interesting to throw one of these guys into a car and just see how quickly they'd pick it up. And I guarantee you, you'll be very, very surprised. Point system for Oman. Do you feel the qualifying scoring system? Or yeah, look, it's the system we ran for the 3 years the championship run, so 2018, 19, and 20. At the time, and it actually, because the rules and the regulations that Oman runs to is basically, it's the same rules and regulations IDC and ProDrift ran to, basically. So, you know, it's just, you just adapt stuff every year. All the championships do it. They all look at each other's rule books and then pick bits and pieces out of it to whatever, like, because stuff has obviously been adapted every year and changed. But that scoring system was the system we were running a few years ago in IDC. Maybe, not sure if it was early IDC, it might even have been ProDrift. We used to always do that, and it never was an issue. And it wasn't an issue in Oman round for the first 2 years either. But this year, because of James having one bad result, and Sebastian having good results, but yet poor qualifying, because what was happening the prior 2 years, all the drivers that were at the top of the championship were getting good scores in qualifying, so it didn't become an issue. Whereas I do believe it's very important to get points for qualifying, because I think drivers need to push hard to get those extra points and to qualify well, because the better. See, for me, qualifying for me is not about putting who goes first and who's second and everything else. It's actually about getting rid of people who are poor online. Because if you get rid of the guys who are not really good online, well, then you're going to have good battles. If all the guys in the lead position are on the perfect line that we set out for them, well, then we have really good battles. That's the whole purpose. So it's important to push the drivers to run those perfect lines and to reward them with points for it, so that they will try even harder to qualify well. The only issue we really have is this probably should be more of a difference between the points. So, for instance, in Oman, there was 8 points for the highest qualifier and 25 points for a win. So next year what we'll do is we'll just increase the 25 points to maybe 50 points or something like that. We'll just make it a bigger difference, so the qualifying points won't make as much of a difference as they did this year. It's just kind of it was just the way it panned out. It nobody would even have noticed it, only for the way it happened. It's just the way it is. What else you got? Soon. Okay, soon I have a car. Okay, good. He has a car. Dean, James, 2 at podiums, front and 3 at podium. Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm looking at some cheap shit boxes. Have 2 friends who are interested as well. So if we did price of car parts equivalent between us, split.
Your microphone's cutting out there, Dad.
I assume that's for doing practice days. Yeah, well, a couple of guys with a car, it works.
Yeah, it works
It
fine.
works. You know, it makes it a little bit cheaper.
It would be better to have your own car, because then at
Of
least
course.
you know you can.
But it's good. It's good a couple of guys together too, because you get together, you work on the car as a team. As long as everybody's pulling their weight, there'll never be an issue. And of course, yeah, you kind of have a lasting friendship, and maybe one of you competes, then the others are there helping, spotting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like yourself and Declan, for instance, you know, it's a good thing. Just
Is drifting on a set on
nothing
PS4 the
about
same as PC? No, it's not. It's completely different. I wouldn't even, like, personally, I wouldn't even waste my money buying a PS4 and a Assetto. If you have a Assetto, or if you have a PS4 already, then Assetto is fine. It's okay, but it's nothing like what it's on PC. It's a completely different game.
Mulcahy, oh, it's not Mulcahy. Oh, jeez, what was it? Macaulay. Sorry. Macaulay Smith. Just know nothing about them or how to set them up, but got a 350Z, so I'll let you know how it is when I get in it eventually. But actually, 350Z is a good car to learn in.
Yeah, they're perfect.
They are
yeah.
very, very. They're quite easy to drift, and fairly robust as well. Actually, I mean,
Yeah, I suppose like the drivetrain in them is quite strong. I think the engine's probably so, but the same with an SR20
yeah,
version
the
like
different
that.
shafts and stuff like that generally don't break.
They're decentish. You know,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be the best, but they're strong
Yeah,
to take
the
power.
Pro Drift Academy in UAE use all 350Zs, and they used to use 350Zs as well in Ireland. And they did that for a reason. They took a lot of abuse. So pretty good car. Driven one myself actually, so they're quite easy to drift. What else we got? I think the only factor from sim and real will be the fear factor from the driver. Would you agree with that? So the only
Yes, yeah,
difference is the fear.
It's
Yeah.
a sense of speed, realistically.
Yeah.
Sense of fear. That's what took me a couple of events to get over. It was off 3 or 4 practice days, and I got over that. But to get to find a limit of a car takes longer than that. Just to get over the fact of going into a corner at decent speed. But I think if someone, let's say, like from what I found, driving on the road would help a lot too. You know what I'm saying? Like being familiar with driving on the road, driving at a certain speed helps a lot. When I started, I had no real life car experience whatsoever.
Oh, sure. You're too young to be driving. Do you know anything about BMWs in terms of drifting?
Stupid fast, stupid grip, like, oh man, mistake there. When I say soon, I mean in regards how a sim drifter handles a real car with no real experience. Teach us how to drift. I can't. No, I could, but not. Maybe some other time. Oh, whoa, okay.
BMW needs a lot of reinforcement subframe. Yeah, that's right. They do crack the subframe does crack in them. But yeah, you can get them welded up. I think there's plates and stuff can be out there for strength. Not a really big issue though, I don't. Maybe once the power gets a bit higher. Dean Martin will tell you about drifting BMWs. He's been doing it for years. Pretty good car to start in, to be honest, I think.
We just got raided, did we?
Or he just raided you.
Guys from Corey. Guys from Corey stream. This is VDC. This is what I was on about. Ah, okay. Corey the boss. Osworth. Do you know? Okay, I think I know who it is. You know the Maximum Driftcast. I assume this is Maximum Driftcast Corey, right? Is this Maximum Driftcast Corey? This the hot dog guy?
Yes.
Yeah, hot dog guy. Do you remember? You know the Maximum Driftcast?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know the the guy that's the driver. No, you don't know the guy that's the driver.
Yeah, there's three of them. The three guys.
Yeah, the guy who was always qualifying top 33rd.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he qualifies 33rd, is it?
Yeah.
33 in the third.
33 and a third.
I actually put that into my briefing in all minute. Yeah, in the brief, I do in briefings. I do PowerPoint briefings, okay, and so like the briefing goes on for quite a while, but the track drawings are all done in sections, so you go through each section of the track, and I go through all the transitions. I decided, as a joke, to see if anybody would notice. Right, I put the first just going through it, and the caption came up first clip, the first transition. And I moved on to the next corner, and second transition came up. When it came to the third transition, I actually spelt it T-U-R-D, so that's the third transition. And we went through, and the next thing that came up, the next thing there was a giggle from somebody, and they went, "Is that?" And for anybody who doesn't know, third T-U-R-D is like a pile of shite, basically. So shit.
Oh man.
So
you put that in your briefing.
I can't believe it. Yeah, I put that in the briefing. But you have to put stuff in to make people laugh, because briefings shouldn't be that serious. It should be a bit of fun.
Well, that's true as well. It doesn't have to be that serious as well. Not when you're on. It's never serious. You're just like a meme in general. So for people who just joined, this is Kieran Hynes. He's a head judge of Ireland's series. Was ex-Driftmasters head judge and stuff. So for the last few hours, we've just been discussing drifting, judging, and all that stuff.
Do we have to start all over again?
No, we don't have to start all over again. My name is Alan. I'm actually a professional drifter from Ireland, and he is my dad, and he judges me while I drive. So you can imagine there's a lot of edible arrangements happening, but I don't need to give any edible arrangements because I'm.
Yeah, he's talking about Jaffa cakes, which are a chocolate biscuit with an orange center filling.
Yeah.
And
I don't need to give any edible arrangements, unlike James Dean. He gives you Jaffa cakes. That's why James is so.
It's the only reason James have ever won anything, because
it is ridiculous, the stuff that he gets away with, Jimmy Dean. But anyway.
Okay, so the questions have now turned into yes, yes to him, yeah. Now I know why Dean is so good.
Well, that's why he won the championship 2 years ago. But then it's kind of different now, because James, you're not judging James anymore. So the edible arrangement situation is different in Driftmasters.
Judging him,
an Oman, yes.
Well, he is probably one of the most easiest people in the world to judge, actually.
Who?
James. Because he does exactly what you ask him to do in the briefing. You say, I want to do this, and he'll go and do it. So you have very little question marks about his runs. Alana is eating Jaffa cakes.
Alana's eating Jaffa cakes.
This is not good, Alana.
She's eating the bad ones, though.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
He does. No,
we don't like those Jaffa cakes.
No. I can get 2 of those Jaffa cakes into my mouth at a time, whereas the proper one's only 1 at a time.
Okay, he just disappeared.
I might have gone over the top, and my first drift car.
Yeah, so this car pack is the VDC car pack. It's a pro pack for VDC drivers, Virtual Drift Championship. And it's just our private cars, private server. We have a competition this coming Saturday, starting at 4 PM GMT in Irish time, UK time. So for example, my car is a 370Z, which is probably the only car in the top 5 in the championship that isn't an S chassis. I do own an S14 in real life, so there's that, I suppose. But how would you compare sim drifting to real life? It's like driving a different car, I suppose, is the best way to do it. The only difference is in one you can die, and the other one you can't die. I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, but no one's died yet.
No one wants to die.
And if you do die, your mother will kill me. So that's not that happen. I know you both. I've spoken to Alan a few times, but as I said before on your YouTube, you talk forever. You take forever. You take forever to reply back. That's you, Alan. He's talking to, obviously. I'm very good at replying.
The feeder series I was saying about I was trying to get from a license series.
Leave my test.
Oh, the Bushido drift style, yes. Do you have any hobbies besides drifting? I said lobbies. I thought he said sorry. What do I do? Well, I'm actually I'm a
Set dancing.
Computer nerd.
Set dancing, and yeah, he does a bit of Morris dancing. You know, they want to have little bells on their shoes and they jump around. Yeah, he does that. He does hurling,
I
and
don't.
curling. Curling is where they have the on ice. They have a puck and they slide it along, and they have to rub a brush in front of it to keep it going. He does that. Yeah, he does that.
I don't do any of that stuff. I'm actually studying to become a software developer, so I'm into computer stuff. I'm a nerd. I do play video games. I do play video games.
He does. Yeah.
Too many video games. Cool, we nerds too. I know, man. We're all
He can
fucking
walk
nerds
for
here.
a quarter of a mile on his hands.
Oh, can what?
You can walk on your hands for a quarter of a mile.
You're making up random facts here,
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
Are you gonna say that like I like eating vegetables as well, or something like that? As well?
Oh, you don't.
I love
You
my
hate
broccolis.
vegetables.
Oh, I hate them. Yeah. There's no such thing as too much video games. Tell my dad that. I mean, I had the same problem about 10 years ago when I had to come off at like 9 o'clock at night.
Alan likes clubbing. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm a hardcore raver. Raver?
Does you like clubbing?
Do I like clubbing?
Yeah, clubbing little children. Six.
True. Agree with that. This channel going to take off? I don't know. Is it going to take off? But there's going to be no taking off right now because all airports are closed. I'm going to laugh at my own joke for that. I like that one. That was a good one. Kitchen raves.
Of all S14.
Oh, that was yesterday only.
Okay, you like Alan, so you won't like me because I drive a Toyota Pro-S fan. But I
Pro-S. That joke. Pro-S fan. 163
163 brake horsepower.
163 horsepower, 1.6
can spin
turbo.
wheels in first, second, and third gear in the wet.
Alan's mad for the Highlands. Not a hope. That's only 14 discos nowadays. Coronavirus Central. Bad entry. I have a soft spot for Pro Zinkies. It's probably the only, because like my car is S14 Zinky. It's probably like the only pro spec S14 Zinky in Europe, or like one that's at a pro level, or like competitively at a pro level. Because there's lots of pro spec Zinky S14s, just none of them are up at the top, I suppose. Well, like in that sense. Oh man, that was terrible. This track, I don't know if I really like this track or not. What's your initial thoughts on it, Dead?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jackie Rasky from my Discord earlier. I don't know it off the top of my head. Should we message on Facebook? My actual Facebook page, not my personal one, because I don't look at my personal one. I'll send it to you on that. I should just link my Discord. That's probably the best thing to do, because I do have a Discord channel, like a group channel. I think I just never used it really. You set up commands and chat to tell things like Discord, so you don't need to remember. Yeah, I need to do all that stuff. You see, I don't actually like stream on Twitch that often. Like, I don't generally go out of my way to go on Twitch. So like I got the access to be affiliate, but I don't think I'll accept it because I want the multi-stream across YouTube and Facebook, where most of my audience are. My first drift car 350Z is a full HDF roll cage, GK tail lock kit, and welded diff. These boys go behind me. Oh, dirt drop. But someone mentioned there I've won more events in VDC or something like that. That's because I just paid the judges more than the other drivers.
There would be virtual for Jaffa Cakes, is it?
Yeah, I just pay him in brownie points. Cookies. Cookies, that's it. In your Discord, the comments in FB and Face and YouTube. Yeah, I should do that. I need some serious practicing and get some better cars. Yes, you should. Well, like the thing is, right? Like you can get your car, your real car, replicated, but the they're just they are tough to drive. This thing is like trying to manhandle a cat. Well, the cats are not that hard to manhandle. I suppose. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Seriously, like.
But the Acumen curve on this thing is all over the place. I need to get that fixed. See, they just snaps on angles so hard. I'm doing so bad right now.
Really could do with 3 screens.
What's that?
You could do with 3 screens for that stuff.
I know, I could do with a way better setup. Like, my setup is so basic. Other than maybe my steering wheel and stuff. How much is enough to pay when building a computer? I don't know, maybe 700 or 800 euros I think is enough to kind of get a good decent spec. You should add people to your page you trust, and then I believe you can have moderators for chat. Yeah, I've had people offer before. I just never gone out of my way to do it, to be honest, because I never had any issues so far. I'm going to reach out to those guys. Yes, reach out to VDC. They'll get your car together. The World Drift Tour stuff I think is pretty good. We're just talking SimNord stuff now that you're kind of out of your league here, small bit, aren't you? You can input your opinion whenever you feel like it, or you can go to bed if you want. Oh, yes, those WT just not pro. Yeah. The pro cars are easy enough to drive too, but they're very close, I feel. Will I be streaming? No, I won't be streaming. I don't. We're not. Us drivers are not allowed to stream while the competition goes ahead. They actually ask us to not stream because there's a lot of like private stuff. A lot of shit goes behind the scenes. Actually, a lot of headbanging arguments and stuff. They don't want us streaming that. But the actual broadcast will be on their Facebook page. Whoa. Do you find the VDC cars very snappy? They are very snappy. They do transition quite quickly. It depends on your gear and your steering gear and like your force feedback settings. But generally they have like force feedback settings recommended with their cars, so you should definitely check them out on their Facebook page. Or the Discord too as well has them. This thing's so fast, straight line does 14. Oh, he hit the wall hard. See you, dudes. Apparently I'm very good looking. Oh, sorry, Element. I wasn't paying more attention. Apparently I'm extremely good looking. I'm more than good looking. I'm gorge. Totes like.
After me.
I get it. I get it from the mascot here. Need some question for Kieran. Kieran's been talking about drifting all day. It's nearly his bedtime.
We're making a cup of tea in a minute.
Yeah, you're free to go whenever you want that. Oh crap! Get it from his papa. It's like, oh, where'd you get that body from? It's not that song, isn't it? Who sang that song? Some rap song. Better go away before I start singing rap songs.
Oh, there's a motor here if you do that.
Where'd you get that body from? I got it from your mama. Oh, I got it from my mama.
Your mama. My his mother altogether.
Yeah, you get it for the dude's mama, yeah. Oh, dirt dropping. Oh, just give him an almighty hit in the door. Live judging from Kieran, so just go when you watching your cars like they're on that bus from the skid.
That was fun to do.
Ah, shit! So earlier we were just talking about FIA judging, what judges look out for in runs and stuff like that. Show your car in return. I'll follow you. I could do what I'd like follows. Look, there's my car. It's a 370Z Pro Drift Academy. Check him out on Facebook. Go there, learn how to drift, become a professional drifting driver.
In order of priority, what do you look for? Simply put. What look for? I think we explained earlier on there, it's like 70% line, roughly. The line is the most important thing. Irish judging is more about precision than style. God, we've talked about it so much, and I'm not going to start it all over
Yeah,
again.
no, but to be honest, I'll be finishing up soon anyway, so I might just.
And maybe if you listen back to the start, you like we spoke a lot about this stuff earlier on.
Within the first hour, yeah.
But yes, it's line because I believe in competitive drifting, you have to be judging has to be measurable. You have to be able to stand over, your judging. So you can't do that with style because it's too subjective. It's just my opinion on what's good and what isn't. So line is very easy to judge because if you have like 10 clipping points, you can't be subjective about it. You're either in those clipping points or you're not. The line would be important. And of course, a car on a really good line is very easy to chase. Same in VDC there, if you watch it, the line is very, very definite. And once the lead car is on that line, the chase car can transition and he can dive. So a well-designed track and the lead car running that line that you want means good battles. So that's what we look for. In qualifying, we're trying to get rid of the guys who can't run the line. Because if anybody who isn't running the line, you end up with a shit battle. So that's what qualifying is all about. It's about getting rid of the guys who can run the track. Make big mistakes. And it's obviously forcing fellas to run a particular line. There will be good battles.
And I think earlier we're just kind of comparing it between how you do it, which is the averaging system, versus how, let's say, FD do the adding. And why one way makes more sense than the other, for example. So I would definitely look at back. A lot of it mentioned there was I don't know if I have a VOD enabled on YouTube or Twitch. You might have to go onto like YouTube or something to get it. Oh, big snappy transition. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. My judging differs a little bit from a lot of the other series around the world. I'm still holding on to the old Japanese averaging the judges' scores, starting on 100 points and being docked points for mistakes. Whereas other series like FD and the rest are splitting up the scoring, splitting up the criteria. I still believe that 3 opinions of a run is better than one person's opinion. You know what I mean? So if you have 3 judges and they're working off the same criteria, you get a more balanced score, I think. And the biggest issue I have with splitting the scoring, and I'm just going to quickly just go over it now because we spoke in a lot of detail about it earlier on, but the biggest issue I have is when you split the scoring, and let's just say for simplicity, let's divide it into 3, so it's line, angle and style, we'll say, okay, and let's just say 30 for line, 33 for line, 33 for angle, just to make it simple. So what happens when if you get a lot of good drivers and they're running a perfect line and perfect angle, so They're all scoring full points. The line judge gives full points for line, and the angle judge gives full points for angle. What happens then? The style judge decides who qualifies first, who qualifies second and third, because the other two guys might as well have sat at home and done nothing. So this is the issue I have. If you take the same scenario with averaging, the 3 judges give their full points for line, the 3 judges give their full points for angle, but the 3 judges decide who qualifies first, second or third. Each judge has a say in the call. That's the biggest issue I have with it. This is why averaging, I think, is better. It's fairer. Not saying it's better, I think it's fairer. And I was explaining earlier on too that I devised a system where which is a keypad system. You literally have keys under your fingers and you can dock points for errors. So basically all you do is concentrate on errors. So it shows 100 points on the screen when they leave, and at the end of the run you look down on the screen and average of the 3 judges, and you look down and there's the score. You're not even aware what the score is going to be until you look at the screen yourself, because you're just docking points. You're taking 5 off for missing a clip, or taking 2 points for being only halfway into a clip, and all that kind of stuff. So that works really well. But I'm kind of I've been involved in the FIA working group, and it's been steered in different ways, and I don't agree with it, so I'm kind of not involved at the moment. It's kind of it, really. But if you're interested in that stuff, go back and watch the start of the live stream. We spoke about it quite a lot at the start.
Pontus mentions that both left foot braking and lead to perfect your line from a style perspective, yes or no? That's from Pontus mentioned left foot braking and lead to perfect your line from a style perspective, yes or no?
I get asked this quite a lot in briefings, about left foot braking. I have no issue with left foot braking. Basically, in a briefing, our briefings are very, very
in-depth,
very in-depth, very, very in-depth. I mean, I do the briefings on, it's all PowerPoint slides showing track clipping points, shows a lot of information. But what it does show, it shows acceleration and deceleration, areas of the track where you have to be on throttle or maintaining your speed or on throttle, and it shows areas where you can decelerate. Now, you can left foot brake anywhere you want as long as you don't decelerate. So if you've excessive left foot braking where the car actually slows in a full throttle area of the track, or in an area where you should be maintaining your throttle, will dock points. Left foot braking where it's very lightly touching the brake, no problem at all with that. No issue at all as long as you're not slowing. Of course, it's a technique that helps the car to settle and everything else, and we've no issue with that. Look, I never tell any driver how they should drive. I basically set out in the briefing, I want you to initiate, handbrake, clutch kick, or weight transfer. Clutch kick, weight transfer, score higher than handbrake. Drag on the handbrake in a straight line will mark you down quite heavily for. A dab of the handbrake is fine. Basically, you do what you have to do to nail the course, to get all those clipping points. I'm not going to tell you how you should drive, and I'm not going to dock points from you unless we said it in the briefing. If you do this or if you do that. Dabbing up the handbrake to settle the car, all that stuff is fine. It shouldn't really be an issue. It's only an issue when the drivers become judges. They start bringing in stuff that is... It just doesn't make a difference. You know what I mean? It's such a small thing, and I kind of believe that if we're ever to attract the general public to watch drifting, it shouldn't be so complicated. Rules shouldn't be so complicated. It should be fairly simple so that everybody can understand it. Otherwise, the only people who understand the rules and what's happening are the real drift nerds. You know what I mean? The people that are so into it, they understand everything, they read everything, but the ordinary Joe Sub who comes to watch an event is going to go away shaking his head. The thing is, you can go to any motorsport event and watch a race and know the guy who got over the finish line the first is the winner. You don't need to have any great knowledge of it. But in drifting, it's got so technical now that unless you immerse yourself in drifting, you really don't understand what's going on. And I have an issue with that, and I just don't get it. It's the whole scoring zeros and stuff for me. Spin or completely off track. Only way you can get a zero in my rules. Okay, alright, if you understeer for like 6 or 7 or 8 car lengths, so it's very, very obvious, maybe you'll bleed enough a point to 8 and you'll get to a 0, but that's basically it, because I don't believe that one car going out and spinning and coming to a dead stop is the same as another guy who drifts in the opposite direction, or his wheels come to a neutral position for 2 feet. It's stupid, like. Because people in the grandstand don't understand that. They see a guy spinning and they know, okay, he's definitely after losing anyway. And then another guy goes and they don't even see the little tiny straight, and it's one more time. They go, what? People leaving disillusioned with the whole thing. I think that's ridiculous. Should really be simple. Like, there's no need to make it complicated. For a bit of background, I'm judging since 2004, 3, 4, and I wasn't drifting before that. I was karting, basically, doing hill climbs and stuff, and that's where I came from. So I came from a motorsport background, not from a drifting background, and that's possibly why my rules that I devised over the years are different to other series, maybe, because I do think drivers concentrate a little bit too much on what's cool about drifting and everything else, and not about what would attract spectators in the gate, you know. But anyway, that's probably why the line is so important to me. They're all going to bed, Alan.
Yeah, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing the same. Well, heading off anyway. You going to bed?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm going to have a cup of tea.
You're having a cup of tea?
Yeah. I heard the kick being clicked on, so I think your mother might be on.
Oh, man, is it?
Well, guys, it's been good talking. Found it interesting. And if you did find it very interesting and you've got lots of more questions, use that every now and again. I'm usually only sitting on the other side of the room. I'm happy to jump in at any time to answer anything. Okay, so I'll say goodnight, T.
Good night, Dad. Thanks for coming.
No problem.
High five. Oh, you nearly hit me in the face. So that's my dad, Kieran Hynes. You can follow him actually, FIDA, if you type in Federation International de Drift or something like that. That's his actual page, as part of his little organisation he has. I'll probably stream for a little bit longer, do a few more runs here, and bounce off myself. Got VDC coming up this coming Saturday, so just getting ready for that. He's so fast in the straight line, holy crap. As a driver, I need to learn to use all of the track and not just what I'm comfortable using. Yeah, I think it's just comfort, really. Like you're kind of saying, it's, I don't know. For me, it took me a while to kind of get into it. But why are you using Trias, and what's the difference between Trias 123s? So in VDC, we can only use 3 compounds of tires. We've got Racing King Trias, you've got Westlake Sport RS, and you've got what's that? Oh, Achilles 123. Oh my god, he's slow. That was hard to chase in there. I use the Trias because it just suits this car better, realistically. Just has a little bit more forward grip, which I kind of like. Obviously, if I had the choice, I'd run V2 tires, but I don't have that opportunity in this game. Or in this series. Check your Facebook messages when you can. Yep, Jack, I've seen it pop through there. I'll have a look at it later. When it comes to messaging, I'm really bad. I don't generally sit in front of my computer and wait for the messages to pop through. Any tips learning the tandem? Tandeming is kind of difficult to teach because, like, once you learn your lead line, once you know how to do your leads, chasing is, I actually find, much better. It's much easier. Aston Martin drift car, yeah, it's nuts, dude. It's got like a V12 turbo or something like that. Oh man, ran really wide there. I'm just going to run the wall. Yeah, Pontus, I think there's only like 4 people not running Triace, it seems like. Like, this series is a one-make tyre championship reality. And everyone's using Nissan S chassis as well, so everyone's using the same car. It's just different engines and car setup. Brian, you should try, like maybe take off the line a bit easier, not try to spin through all the gears, because it really hurts your speed. When you try and run the, I know, yeah. It's like an old joke that I had with one of the lads back on, or one of the guys back on Forza. You try to run the wall and you just run the whole outside wall like an oval or something. Running the wall, door to door. Oh, for fuck's sake. I hit the wall, yeah. Oh shit, I'm not even paying attention. I might as well just reset. Right, folks, I'm gonna do 2 more laps, I think, or a couple of more laps until I die, I suppose, and then I'm gonna head bounce off. It's kind of getting late here. It's gone past 12 a.m. 12, is it 12 a.m? Is that what you say? Or 00 hours? I don't know. That. So, if you have any questions you want to ask or anything you want to comment on, let me know, and I'll try and get to it. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys tomorrow, or not tomorrow. Don't know what I'm gonna say tomorrow, but some other day soon. Should probably really release a schedule now that I've kind of more free time with this whole virus thing going on, so we'll see. Wishing my rotary had this spot mint torque so I don't have to clutch kick 10 times on entry chasing T-con elements. Yeah. I think this thing has too much torque because it comes on like a switch. Like a light switch. Like daytime, nighttime. Like that BBC News meme. You know what the fucking bird? It's like daytime, nighttime! Man, this car is so unpredictable sometimes. What the fuck is that like? Oh, what's up? So we'll be seeing more of you on the sim now with all the stuff going on. Yeah, well, generally, to be honest with you, I'm on the sim a lot anyway because like I just like driving on it and just driving in general is fun. I just don't live stream a lot of it because I just don't really feel like I don't know, I just don't really feel like streaming at the time. I suppose I just like being able to play the game by myself. And generally, anytime I am on it, I'm doing boring stuff like setup changing and stuff. Some people might find that interesting. I just, you know, just know it just gets boring, to be honest. I'm not really talking, I'm just thinking. Right, 2 more laps. I'm bouncing off. Thank you guys so much for listening in. Obviously, thanks to my dad for joining. He's kind of a, see, he's not super busy, not right now anyway, but obviously his input, it means a lot because it's kind of like, in my opinion, it's kind of developed the Irish scene. It's like the reason why us Irish drivers are kind of so good, I suppose. Um, because the Irish in general have never been like super dominant in one type of sport ever, except for drifting, which is either super ironic. Was that better, Brian? Yes, it was indeed. We're much faster in a straight line anyway. Should stream more, man. Cool content. Cheers. Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you. Um, yeah, it's easier for me to stream than what it is to make videos and stuff. So I'll try and do more of it. I think I should definitely set up a schedule. Whoa, whoopsie. When he drives the Sim 2, yeah, he hasn't driven it. I think the first time he drove it was when I first got it, because like he doesn't come from like a drifting background, so he's not super adamant on like trying to like show off or anything. So um, I might get him to do some other stuff, like alright, some racing stuff maybe. He used to race competitively in go karting and stuff, so he knows how to drive a car or two or three. It's kind of scary when I'm sitting in the passenger seat. For sure, I'm a streamer myself, just have personal things going on right now. Yeah, I know, I understand, Jack. It's tough times right now, isn't it? And hope you shoot the best. Ah, damn it! I was on desktop view the whole time, so the footage is probably super choppy. I'm sorry. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys very soon. I'll try and keep up to date with my social medias when I'm going live next. I'm not the greatest at doing it because it's kind of like on the spur of the moment when I decide to do it. But as of right now, it seems I'm kind of doing it every second day. So, what's today? Today's Wednesday, probably Thursday now. So I'll probably stream tomorrow, Friday. I'll probably stream again Friday, which is the day before excuse me, before VDC. We're gonna do some VDC training, and maybe we'll try and get some other people in chat, in voice chat. We'll probably get some drivers in or something. We'll have a bit of fun. So that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much for tuning in, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys very very soon. Any questions, let me know, and I'll either ask my dad and try and get back to you, or else we'll do another stream in the next week or two. All right, thanks, guys.